Good evening. Call this meeting to order. This is a regular meeting of the Board of Trustees, Judson Independent School District at 7 o'clock. We now will do the roll call to establish a quorum, followed by invocation and pledge of allegiance. Mr. LaFoyle.
Here. Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Ms. Adair.
President, and I want to say thank you to everyone that called and sent cards. I really appreciate your thoughtfulness. Thank you very much.
Mr. Macias.
President,
Mr. Flores.
President, thank you all for being here.
Mr. Salyer.
President, thank you for coming.
Ms. Williams.
President, thank you so much for being here.
I'm Mr. Salinas. I'm your board president, and thank you, and I appreciate everybody taking time to come and visit with us during this meeting. Thank you very much. Dr. Mackey.
President, and we have a cabinet member here, Mr. Elizondo, CFO, Ms. Howard, Human Resource, Mr. Kirshner, Director of Operation, Ms. Lita Berra, Assistant Superintendent, Ms. Robinson, Associate Superintendent. And Willis Mackey, Superintendent of Judson ISD.
This regular meeting of the Judson Board of Trustees is hereby called at 7 p.m. I am very pleased that you have taken time to join us this evening. As the Judson Board of Trustees, we are here to set goals and policies and oversee the management of the district. We are responsible for approving budgets, contracts, personnel appointments, and to listen to reports from the superintendent. In compliance with the state government code on open meetings, tonight's agenda has been appropriately posted. This is a meeting in public, not a meeting of the public. As our guests, you are welcome to observe and listen. These proceedings are being video and audio recorded and will become part of Judson's permanent legal record. In order that the tape adequately reflects these proceedings, please silence your mobile phones and refrain from talking with others while others are speaking. Since it is legally mandated that these proceedings be recorded accurately, I may have to ask for order periodically should I notice that disruptions are interfering with our recording capabilities. Once again, on behalf of the entire board and our superintendent, we extend to each of you a sincere welcome. Thank you for your interest in the Judson Independent School District. We're going to proceed with the invocation by Dr. Mackey, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Recognitions.
Would you please bow your head? Lord, we want to thank you for so many wonderful and gracious things that you've blessed us with. We want to pray for the Adair family, for the loss of one in her family, and lift up her family in your name. Lord, I want you to continue to bless our district with all the wonderful things that you have blessed us with, and continue to take care of us, Lord. You need your lifting, your prayers, and everything you can do to help us. We want to thank the armed forces for keeping us out of harm's way. Lord, thank you for everything you've done. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I'd like to introduce to you our pledge leader for tonight. His name is Dante Rios. Dante, why don't you come on up here? He's a fifth grader from Converse Elementary. He is in the Safety Patrol and a TAG student. Dante enjoys drawing and artwork. His parents are Salvador and Alma Rios. Let's join Dante in the U.S. Pledge of Allegiance and to the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to the of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Order, arm. Ready, aim. Order, arm. Other guard, up. Ready, up. Ready, go. Ready, go. Ready, up. Ready, aim. Freeze and arm. Border, arm. Ready, aim. Forward, arch.
You may be seated. Let's give Dante a hand for a very nice job. And his parents are here as well. Could I have you stand just for a moment, please? Thank you for being here. I'd also like to recognize the color guard for this evening, coming from Wagner High School, Junior ROTC, Cadet Captain Gracia Martinez, Cadet Staff Sergeant Rebecca Ricondo, Cadet Sergeant First Class Zulima Martinez, and Cadet Captain Jessica Ramon. They are under... Their instructor is First Class Joseph D. Ramon. Now, I'd like to go on to our next board recognition, and we would like to recognize some students that are actually accepting appointments to some of our military academies. The first, I'm not sure whether all three of them are here this evening, but we want to recognize them because what they have accepted is really a big deal. A lot of schools may get one appointment. Judson High School actually had 3 appointments this year. If Tristan Holliday could come up here, I want to recognize him. He has been appointed to the Naval Academy. His appointment coming from Congressman Henry Cuellar. He is going to be looking at majoring in mechanical engineering or naval architecture. His parents are here this evening as well, Tony and Laurie Holliday. Congratulations. Yeah. Well, I'm not sure whether they're here or not, but also, they're not here? Okay. All right. The other 2 students, as they're taking pictures, the other 2 students that will be going to military academies, Noah Tetro will be going to West Point, and Brandon Sanders, the Air Force Academy. All right, our next board recognition involves a number of fine arts students. Now, they have been really doing well over the past several weeks at the UIL competitions. And first of all, we want to congratulate 2 Judson High School students who have reached the state level in the Visual Arts Scholastic event. First of all, Barbara Hilton, if you would come forward. Barbara's entry is a soapstone sculpture. The detail and creativity in her project really impressed the judges with her piece. I'm not sure whether Hugo Barraza is here. Hugo, are you here? If he's not, he entered a 2D comic book piece that was very impressive as well. The state contest will be held in April and hosted by Bryan ISD. Their instructors are Judson High School teachers Ms. Davis and Mr. Pringle. So good luck to them come state competition. Our next recognition also comes from Judson High School. The Texas Forensic Association promotes the education and performance of speech and theater arts among students. The state TFA tournament was hosted by Cypress Creek High School in Houston right before spring break, and the 2 students walked away with earning some very impressive awards. After 3 days of cuts and performances to whittle down to the cream of the crop, the duet performance team of Brianna Pitts and Trey Atkins won 3rd place in state in their category. Come on up. Would also like to congratulate the instructor for these students is Mr. Bailey. I'm not sure whether he is here or not. And if the parents of both Trey and Brianna, or if they're here, could they stand up? Are you here at all? Okay. Very good. All right, our next group to recognize is from the Judson Business Professionals of America. It's a national organization for middle, high school, and college students preparing for careers in business occupations. Top students from Judson High School attended the BPA State Leadership Conference in Houston earlier this month with about 2,500 other students to test their business skills. Here this evening representing the Judson team are Christian De Hoyas. Why don't you come on up, Christian? He's a specialist in mobile applications. Alex Martinez, specializing in business management, and Miguel Gutierrez, specializing in network design and Java programming. These chapter members represented Judson with pride and distinction in their respective areas, and their instructor, as you can see, he's right down front here taking pictures, Mr. Shorter. And are the parents of these students here this evening? If they are, if you could stand. All right, right here. Thank you. And our next recognition, one of our very own Judson ISD science teachers, she's a chemistry teacher, has been selected to be part of a prestigious group of science and technology instructors, Miss Stacy Hierantes. She was one of 49 science teachers in the state chosen. The National Science Teachers Association, or the NSTA, is the largest professional organization in the world promoting excellence in science instruction. Selected from more than 1,000 applications nationwide, she, as one of the fellows, will participate in a host of science-related activities and professional learning opportunities designed to help promote quality science teaching, enhancing teacher confidence, and classroom excellence and content knowledge. The program is in collaboration with some pretty big companies, the Dow Chemical Company, Lockheed, the American Honda Foundation, and the Bayer USA Foundation. And just to kind of give you an idea, 49 out of the 200 science teachers chosen as fellows for this year's academy are from Texas. So Texas is doing well. All right, our next recognition is a check presentation. We always love check presentations. The Red McCombs Partnership in Education program has made it a mission to support public education in San Antonio and each school district in the area by giving us a piece of the pie, quote unquote. Every time a Judson ISD employee purchases a new or used vehicle from any of the McCombs dealerships, $100 is donated to our school district, our school's education foundation. McCombs Vice President of Operations, Mr. Speedy Gonzalez, is here to present a check to the Judson Education Foundation for money raised through this program. Ms. Yvette Reyna, Executive Director of the Judson Education Foundation, is here to accept the gift. And we'll tell you here in just a minute how much it's... Pat McMahon is one of our Jeff board members. He's here as well.
We sell 2,500 cars a month for all our dealerships, including Universal Toyota, which is part of our family. Anytime you have to do it, it's a part of the PI program. The automatic fill out form. The form comes to me, goes to the Home Foundation, and the Home Foundation issuing the check to the other foundation. The 501c to 501c. Besides that, any employee who goes in there, they file with a fleet account. All they have to mention is, you're an employee, you buy a fleet account, you get oil change for $9.95 if you're an employee of the school district. And that includes the 27-point inspection, oil change, and the car wash. That's it because teachers are not teachers because I don't think it's my wife my wife is a teacher, so she tells me we don't get it out.
And by the way, Mr. Gonzalez did not mention this, but that check is for $800. And those are our recognitions for this evening.
Yeah. At this time, we'll have the acknowledgement of visitors in the audience, and I believe we see Mr. Steve Brown, Councilman Steve Brown from Converse. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Acknowledgement of visitors. This time is provided for citizens to address boards on issues of concern. A person may speak one time for a period of 3 minutes. Presentation shall be informative only. No board action will be taken. A complaint or charge against an officer or employee of the district is not allowed in open session. Complaints and concerns for which other resolution channels are provided shall be directed through those channels. The presiding officer shall determine whether a person who wishes to address the board has attempted to solve a matter administratively. If not, the person shall be directed to the appropriate policy to seek resolution before bringing the matter to the board at a subsequent meeting. Citizens wishing to receive a response from concerns presented to the board must provide written documentation
Good evening, and thank you for your service on the board. Much appreciated. It's been almost, this July, it'll be 3 years since we first brought to the attention some needed repairs at the Coronado Swim facility. Since then, parents have organized, our swim friends and neighbors organized and created another committee called the MetroCom Natatorium Steering Committee. There has been a lot of meetings since then in developing ideas and proposals to come up with a long-term solution. We applaud and we appreciate the board's action in funding a business plan study. And we agree with most of the recommendations and ideas in there. We support board action to come up with a long-term solution. It's been 3 years and we're ready for the solution. We recommend that we, I think it was when I was on the long-term planning committee, back then, I think it was a little over a year ago, year and a half ago, they recommended to the board to build a new natatorium. I'm also chairman of the Building and Finance and Construction Committee right now. And we met in February and reviewed the business plan proposal, and they also recommended to the board to build a natatorium. So I'm here today to vote my support that we put our minds and our hearts into this project, and let's get this done. It is much needed. Our last two of our top students in Judson District, one was a valedictorian and one was a salutatorian, the second in class. So they are both swimmers. They're dedicated athletes, and we appreciate your consideration in this matter. Thank you.
Michelle Furman.
Good evening. Before I make my comments, I want to apologize for the raspy voice. I've been sick all week, and hopefully I'm not going to cough into the microphone. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak before you this evening. My name is Michelle Thurman, and I live at 13646 Hercules Lane in Universal City. My husband and I have 2 sons. Kyle is a freshman at Judson High School. He swims for the high school team along with the Judson Quad A Club team. Our youngest son is hiding in the back. He's a 7th grader at Kitty Hawk Middle School, and he swims for the Judson Quad A swim team as well. On behalf of the MetroCom Natatorium Steering Committee, I would like to thank the board for authorizing the aquatic feasibility study, and our committee agrees with the findings of that study. There is a need for a natatorium in the MetroCom area, and our committee looks forward to working with the board to move the natatorium plans to the next level. Tonight, our committee would like to emphasize our plans to assist the board as we work towards making the MetroCom Natatorium a reality. First, we plan to continue to build our partnership with Northeast Lakeview College. We know that Judson ISD has a solid working relationship with Northeast Lakeview because of the success of JECA. The committee plans to deliver natatorium presentations to the surrounding community leaders of Universal City, Live Oak, Selma, and Converse to provide each community the opportunity to become valued stakeholders. The committee will also present the natatorium plans to the San Antonio Sports Foundation to increase support from the local athletic community. And finally, we will always be available to help the board with any questions, technical expertise, or additional information you may need. Thank you again for your partnership and support for a MetroCom Natatorium.
Now we have Mr.
First of all, thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. The sole purpose of my coming before the board is to introduce myself and introduce my company. It is our intent to begin bidding on projects, construction projects for the district. I don't think we're known at this point. And most of what I have to say is really on the information sheet that I provided, so I'm going to keep my comments very brief. I'd like to begin by saying I was a resident of the district for 10 years, and I had 3 children and 2 stepchildren graduate from Judson High School. And besides building beautiful buildings, they got a great education. They're all employed and off the dole. So it's a point of great gratitude. The company started in 2008. We were providing bid services to general contractors in 2010. We became a self-performing electrical contractor. We've had the good fortune to hire an awful lot of good, qualified senior folks. As a result of that, the company has grown despite the recession. As we roll into 2014, we are about a 65-person company. Up until about 3 hours ago, I thought we would stay around there. We've had some more good fortune here as the day ended, and we'll probably get up to about 75 people. The staff, and again, as I summarized, so I'm going to really keep my comments to a minimum. As I summarized there, our staff has a great resume experience doing schools locally. We would like to leverage that local experience to have the opportunity to someday be fortunate enough to work with one of your preferred providers, one of the general contractors who do the work here, and be awarded a contract to one of those folks. We've been bidding to several of the general contractors that do school work here, and so far we've been successful with one of them, and I've provided a brief summary of that project again on that sheet. In closing, my only purpose was to come here and introduce myself and my company. I do really appreciate the work that the board does, and as I said earlier, I've been a first-hand recipient of the good work of the district, its teachers, and its board. Thank you very much for this time.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we will do the consideration of consent items first. I will be reading the items. Any board member that wish to pull an item, please let me know so we can pull that item and just vote on those that are accepted. A, consider and take action regarding approval of board minutes for the regular board meeting on February 20th, 2014. B, yes, sir. B, of Mr. Flores. C, consider and take action regarding approval of monthly financial information as of February 28, 2014. D, consider and take action regarding approval of expenditures equal to or greater than $50,000. E, consider and take action regarding approval of amendments to the budget for the 2014 fiscal year. F, consider and take action regarding approval of an order by the Board of Trustees of Judson Independent School District authorizing the issuance of Judson Independent School District Unlimited Tax Refunding Bonds, Series 2014, levying a continuing direct annual ad valorem tax for the payment of bonds, prescribing the form, terms, conditions, and resolving other matters incident and related to the issue and sale and delivery of the bonds, including the approval and distribution of an official statement pertaining thereto, authorizing the execution of a paying agent registrar agreement on escrow and trust agreement, and a purchase contract complying with the letter of representations on file with the depository trust company, delegating the authority to certain members of the Board of Trustees and district staff to execute certain documents relating to the sale of the bonds, and providing an effective date. For the audience, that is the refinancing of some bonds that we have, which is a good thing because that means the district is going to save a couple of $1 million. Okay, this is, oh, okay, I'm sorry. G, consider and take action regarding approval of construction procurement methods for the replacement of the child nutrition walk-in cooler unit. H, consider and take action regarding approval of a resolution to declare real property as surplus, Park Village Elementary portable building. I, consider and take action regarding approval of a request for proposal 1314 for general instruction supplies. J, consider and take action regarding approval of the ranking for request for competitive seal, proposal 14-11 for Evans High School. K, consider and take action regarding approval of request for proposals 14-17 for access control and security camera cabling installation and repair. L, consider and take action regarding approval of instructional materials allotment and TICS certification for the 2014-2015 school year. M, consider and take action regarding approval of the modified scheduled state assessment days waiver. N, and I'm going to pull N. Consider and take action regarding approval of local district update, BP, local administrative regulations, second reading. O, consider and take action regarding approval of local district update, CH, local purchasing and acquisition, second reading. P, consider and take action regarding approval of local district update, DCB, local employment practices, term contracts, second reading. Q, consider and take action regarding approval of local district update, DCD, local employment practices, Ed Will employment, second reading, and I am going to pull F. No, I'm going to pull F. I'm coming back and I'm pulling F. Q. Okay, district update. Yeah, we're going to pull Q. So we're voting. Okay. Yes. We're going, oh, wait a minute. Okay, we're going to vote, correct me if I'm wrong, board. We're going to vote on A, C, D, G, H, K, L, M, O, P. Motion. Motion by Ms. Williams, second by Mr. Macias. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed likewise. Motion carries. We go back to B. Consider and take action regarding approval of minutes for the special meeting held on March 17th and March 20th, 2014. Mr. Flores.
Motion.
Motion by Ms. Adair. Second by Mr. Flores. Mr. Flores.
Yes, and I realized I didn't have my notes again. I changed cars before I came to the meeting, and I would just like to move this to the next month's meeting. And I'll be able to talk about it next. Okay. And but it's just a few word changes I saw.
I was going on.
Okay, so we're going to pull.
Yeah, pull it to the
Yes, sir. Yes. Did you get that, Jackie? Thank you, ma'am. E, consider and take action regarding approval of amendments to the budget for the 2014 fiscal year. Was that you, Mr.?
Motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Motion and second. Motion by Ms. Adair, second by Mr. Flores. Was that you, Mr. Macias? That was. Thank you, sir.
I just had a question. Dr. Mackey, you or Mr. Elizondo might be able to address it. But this budget amendment, looking at the different general operating, the child nutrition and so on, but in the general operating one, I'm looking at the bottom line, and it looks like the total change in expenditures, this is on page 44 of our board book, shows $703,000, and so the net increase of expenditures over revenue is 632,320. I guess I'm trying to figure out the overall amendment is for how much? How much more are we adding to the budget? Is it the 632? And this is for general operating, obviously, that I'm asking for.
Right, we're doing two things. We're adding $70,768 to the revenue for the general operating fund, and we're adding the $700,000, let me get down to that, $703,088 to the expenditure side. The net of both of those numbers, the plus revenue minus expenditures, we're looking at $632,000.
So this is $632 and $632,000, 320 that we didn't have scheduled, more or less. That's
Correct.
why we're adding an amendment.
Correct.
$632,000. So where does that money come from? From our fund balance?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
So when we have an amendment, and I guess when I look at this, the non-payroll startup cost for STEM is the largest expenditure that's unbudgeted. You had almost $500,000, $585,000. How does it get unbudgeted? I guess that's what I'm trying to figure out. When we did our budgets last year, how did we, I mean, this is small, but just for me to have perspective, how do we get there?
At the beginning of the year, when we were looking at the budget for like this school year, we start those discussions in December of the prior year, start looking at personnel, looking at different programs. By the time the director came for this particular program, do you want specific about this program? Okay, so
that is the largest
sure.
expenditure.
When the director joined and developed the budget for last year, for this past year, it was already close to the end of our budget cycle, so we didn't get into the time before June, before we adopted the budget for this year. So she presented some numbers, and we were going through them, reviewing them, and it wasn't until really December that we kind of felt comfortable with the numbers that were being presented because it was a 3-year implementation. So this is just year 1, the next year we'll do year 2, and then the following year 3. So it's 6th graders, 7th graders, 8th graders. So that's the reason in this particular case that this happened, because it took us that long to get all the numbers and make sure that everything was accurate, everything was looking good. We were doing some renovations to the building where the STEM program is going to be housed. So it's a little bit different in every case. We try to get them in before the new year budget starts, but if the total program evaluation hasn't been completed, then obviously we don't have the numbers until that's done.
And obviously we have a very healthy fund balance to utilize this.
Fortunately, yes, sir. We do.
Okay, good. Well, thank you. I support the STEM program. There's no knock on that. I just wanted to kind of understanding of where we're getting $632,000 that wasn't budgeted. Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, Aldo, any more?
I did, Mr. Thing isn't on. I just have one question. But when we go as we're going into the budget cycle, this will be programmed, Dr. Mackey, for this upcoming year when we discuss our budget. Thank you.
Yes, because this 3-year deal, next 2 years, is not going to go up as the program. So this is just beginning of it.
Yes, sir.
On the child nutrition, Dr. Mackey, Mr. Elizondo, that capital expenditure is approved by the Department of Agriculture, $1,167,000. Is that one-time deal, or we look to add more in the budget?
Can I answer, Dr. Mackey? Can I answer that question? It is a one-time expenditure. It's not just one item either. There is a laundry list of items that were submitted to the Texas Department of Agriculture, and they approved that plan, those items. And the reason we're doing that is because of the fund balance in that particular child nutrition program is a little excessive of what they'd like to see it. So we had to submit a plan to them as to what we're going to do to bring that fund balance down to within the required levels.
Okay.
So we'll see it this year. If for some reason fund balance is still a little high next year, there may be another plan to bring it down if this all wasn't spent before the end of the fiscal year.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, no further.
I actually have another question. I apologize. I just noticed that other one, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Page 46, Mr. Elizondo. So looking at this general operating unassigned fund balance sheet, it looks like we had, I guess, a negative $4 million that we, and this is how I'm perceiving this. I just want to confirm. Negative $4 million that we took from our fund balance for the 2013 year, 2013-2014 year. Am I reading that right? Or
is that $4.232
it is.
million number? All right. So if you look at the very beginning of that document, at the very top, We
Yeah.
started with an
Unassigned
unreserved fund
balance of $40 million.
$40.2 million. When we adopted the original budget back in June, our revenues were at $162.2 million, and the expenditures were $162.08 million. So we actually were going to have a surplus for this year of $122,000. Then, as the year has gone by, we've made amendments to the revenue and expenditure budgets. That's usually there, the 2.8 and the 7.1, which the amendments throughout the year are that 4.2 million net effect. So expenditures have been greater than revenue amendments thus far for 4.2 million. So we're looking at we're planning to have a fund balance at the end of the school year of about $36.1 million.
So it's safe to say that we had $4 million or $4.2 million in unassigned or unbudgeted expenditures that we had to account for during the year.
Net, yes. Actually, it was 2.8 million of revenue and $7.1 million of expenditures.
This will be more significant later, but I do want to make sure that I understand that that's what I'm looking at.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, no further question? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed likewise. Motion carries. The reason I asked for F, motion by Mr. Sellier, second by Ms. Williams. Thank you. I started the discussion telling the audience that this was to refinance the bonds, and then I forgot that we had not done the action, have the, for a motion, I'm sorry. What I was going to say, we've saved the district already a little over $12 million throughout the couple of years, and now I think this one is going to save another million or a little bit over $1 million, and that's why I wanted to bring it and explain to the audience, because all you heard was all that reading that I had, but I wanted you to understand that. Okay, anybody else? Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed likewise. Aye. Consider and take action regarding approval request for proposal 1314 for general and instructional supplies. Motion.
Motion.
Motion by Ms. Williams.
Second. Which one?
Oh, we did? Oh, letter H. I'm sorry.
Oh, I thought it was I that was pulled.
Yeah, I thought it was I. Okay, consider and take action no,
Was
no,
it
wait a
Jackie?
minute.
Can you check?
Which
H
one?
was pulled. Okay.
Oh, okay, it was pulled.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. I want to make sure. Okay, consider and take action regarding approval of resolution to declare real property as surplus Park Village Elementary. Motion by Ms. Williams. Oh, second, yeah. Go ahead.
I guess the portable, we're going to sell the portable building at Parkview Elementary, is that correct?
Yes, sir. The
Attempt to
portable
sell.
building,
Tell me.
one of the buildings that we're taking from Salinas, we're going to replace, we're going to put it over at Park Village. The one portable there is only one classroom, and we're going to replace that with a two-classroom portable out there in much better shape. The problem with the portable that's at Park Village right now, because of the change in code up to this point in the different municipalities, we really can't use it anywhere else. It is kind of ratty. The exterior is in bad shape. We might be able to use it for storage portables someplace, but we really don't have a place to keep it to store stuff in. So we recommend just making it salvage and put it out on bid, and somebody come pick it up and take it off our hands.
Okay. And I guess I noticed, of course, that the cost for this process, if I'm reading it correctly, is $7,000. Is that correct? No.
It
What is
typically
that?
costs $7,000 just to move a portable.
Yeah,
So
that's
what-
just the cost of
Yeah,
of
when we
process.
put this up for auction, we tell them they have to come get it off of our property.
I see. And these portables cost us how much when we buy them new?
They depend. We can buy some good used ones for the $25,000 range, but we're hitting in between $50,000 and $80,000 for a brand new portable at this time.
I see. And this one was, I guess, you said since 1990, so it's
an
pretty
old
old.
one. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. I'm fine with that.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed likewise. Thank you. Now, the next one is J, right?
Yes, sir.
Consider and take action regarding approval of the ranking for request for competitive seal proposals 14-11 for Evans Road High School. Motion by Mr. Sellier, second by Ms. Williams. Dr. Mackey wanted to have the floor. I'm sorry, sir.
Yes, thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our staff have done the ranking on this high school at the Evans Road High School, and in the ranking, we want to start the negotiation stage with number one in ranking. So looking at the sheet right here, what it says on the sheet is not the numbers that we're looking at. I like to make the corrections because I would like to look at the base bid, alternate number one, which is the auxiliary gym, and the mag bearing chiller, and just keep the two right there. So I did visit with the bond count. That's 113. 113. I visited with the bond council. So because of the ranking and Mr. Valdez, Mr. Kirshner, the architects and engineers did the ranking on that. Now, as the board approved this tonight, then what I would do is go back and start negotiating with the number one person first thing in the morning. I will give them time to negotiate some value engineering. Then I would go to number two. Then I would go to number three in the negotiating stage. And the reason I handle this is because I've been given certain instructions by the bond council, the wording that I have to say when I talk to them. So board members, it's very careful what you say, because you may say something tonight that will cancel out certain vendors. And if you visit with them or say certain things, then it's going to be, the district will be liable. So I'm just advising this right here, staying with the base bid, auxiliary number gym, and the mag bearing chiller. We have the funding to cover that right there. We do not have the funding to do alternate number two at this time until we negotiate with the bidders. And there's certain language and certain things you have to say to the contractors when you visit with them. And you have in your package if you look on page 115, you have the scorecard. You have, this board has number one, number two, and number three. And that's who I have to start with. But because they did the ranking, the staff and the engineers, the architect did the ranking, now I come in and negotiate with the contractors starting tomorrow. I give them a set time to comply with our requests and under certain stipulations, and then if they can't do this, then I go to number two, number three. And the whole deal about this is keeping all of this within our budget and meeting the specs and requirements that we have required from not only the general contractor but the subcontractors. And so just really watch what you say, about this, because this is everybody's looking at this, and I don't want y'all to say the wrong thing, because I've been given certain instructions what I can say and what I can't say.
Mr. President, I'd ask for a 10-minute recess.
We'll go ahead and take a 10-minute recess. Item J, consider to take action regarding approval of the ranking for request for competitive seal, and I think we had a motion, right? Yes,
Yeah, we
we
did.
already had a motion. Now discussion. No discussion.
No discussion.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. Oh. Mr. LaFoy?
Wait, we got a quorum.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. K. No, I'm sorry. N. Consider and take action regarding approval local district update, BP, administrative regulations, second reading, and I think I'm the one that pulled that one.
Yes, you are.
Motion, Ms. Adair, second by Mr. Macias. I wanted to, let's see, on page 129, I wanted to tell the board, we are voting, and correct me, Jackie, on that, please. We are voting only on the update, not all these regulations that we have here. We're not voting on that.
No, you're not voting on that.
That's why, because a lot of these are going to have to be, believe me, I went through all of them. And I talked to you about it, and you said, yes, they will be updated.
Yeah, but-
They have to be updated if this thing is approved.
We're not voting on the updates. What we're voting on is that the central control from the assistant superintendent to the HR department. That's what we're voting, who's coordinating.
Which is the policy.
Yes,
That's what
yes,
we're voting,
yes.
which is the policy.
Policy, which is
Okay,
the
that's what I said.
Yeah.
We're voting on the policy.
Policy, on the policy.
Going from the superintendent to,
The-
a lot of these belong in HR.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, they're going to coordinate it. They're just going to
Right.
coordinate it.
We have it here, right, Jackie?
Page 130.
129.
The changes are on 130, Jim.
It says the official copy of the document constituting administrative regulations should be kept in the office of the executive director of HR. And she'll be responsible, yes. You're just changing the office. They're keeping,
Where it says official copy.
it's Dr. Black, Dr. Black. No, it's the director. The director, yes.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I'd just like to amend that to read director and not executive director.
Sir, basically what we're doing here is that the housing of the documents are electronic throughout the district. You will also have the documents, I think, now made available to you in the boxes. They're updated. The program itself for the management, making sure that they're getting updated, making sure that the professionals throughout the district are aware of the language in them, will be managed through human resources. Therefore, it's indicating that the position of executive director is who's in charge of managing it, because it is coming out of the department for the program. So it has to go under the most senior administrator of that department.
Yeah, you can say that, yeah. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you can say the office of human HR department. Yeah, that's
You
fine.
get that, Jackie?
Yeah, the office of the HR department. Okay.
And then, do you think by August all of this is going to be updated? Because some of these stuff don't exist anymore. Believe me, I went through all of them. No, I understand. There's some nutrition. There's some from the principals. Yes. Okay. I just want to make sure that we understand that. Okay. Okay. Any other discussion?
And we're voting just on VP local. And the,
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes,
Yeah,
that's
VP,
going to be
that's
in the
it.
human resources. right.
okay.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, likewise. Motion carries. I lost my page. There we go. Okay, Q. Oh, yeah. Not O, right?
No, Q.
Which one? Q. Consider and take action regarding approval of local district update D local employment practices. Ed Will employment, second reading, page 498. Wow, we're almost finished. Yeah, oh, no. Motion by Mr. Macias.
Second.
Second by Mr. Lavoy. Discussion.
Yeah.
Mr. Macias.
Yes, I just had a real quick question. This was a TASB recommendation? I can't remember. It was? Okay. Thank you for clarifying. That's all I had.
Oh, okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed likewise. Motion carries. Okay, we're going to go into discussion items and reports. Page 673. On discussion items. Yes, suspend the rule because we're going to skip the action item. We're going to go into the discussion items. And we'll start with superintendent report. Because there are some people that are going to make announcements.
Good evening, everyone. This year, the Judson Education Foundation is celebrating 15 years serving the Judson ISD as a 501c3 nonprofit. But we're going back in time a little just to show you our fundraising efforts of 2013. So our State of the Foundation video will play momentarily. The Judson Education Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that seeks financial support from the community and corporate donors to provide and sustain district-wide opportunities for educational excellence in Judson ISD. 2013 marks 14 years the JEF has hosted fundraising events to raise money for innovative teacher grants and student scholarships. Here's a glimpse of our accomplishments. In 2013, JEF funded 9 innovative teacher grants totaling $15,972 and 11 scholarships totaling $15,000. Whether it's time, money, or an in-kind donation, the success of our foundation depends on the generosity of our community and corporate partners. Here's a list of our top corporate sponsors in 2013. With your support, the Judson Education Foundation is able to enrich teaching, inspire learning, and provide opportunities for excellence in education for all students in the Judson Independent School District. On behalf of our volunteer board of directors, we would like to thank the Judson Board of Trustees for their support over the past 15 years. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me here. My name is Melanie Franklin. I work for the College Board. This is my 15th year in education, so I've been a campus administrator, a district administrator in rural, suburban, and urban school districts. My last placement was in Houston ISD before I came to work for the College Board. I've worked for the College Board for 2 years. And I wanted to give you a little bit of background about myself to kind of give you an idea of who you're talking to and why I came to work for the College Board. I noticed behind me there are 4 points that we'll kind of highlight today that you have listed under your values: students first, teamwork, accountability, and results oriented. And that's what we're going to talk about. I'm a pacer. Just to make my students nauseous, I pace back and forth. So Judson ISD and the College Board have a shared mission, and I've posted them up here for you. The College Board, we are a not-for-profit membership organization, so your school district is a member of the College Board. Your voice is heard, and we respond to that voice and offer programs and opportunities for students. We connect students to college success and opportunity, and we are committed to education, excellence in education. I notice in your mission as well, your first goal is to meet or exceed Texas Education Agency standards on STAR and prepare students for higher education and workforce readiness. And college and career readiness is the heart of the College Board mission. You may notice here in this entire honeycomb structure, you'll see that there are several assessments that you provide students each year. The Ready Step, the PSAT, NMSQT, AccuPlacer, which is now TSI in the state of Texas, you also use, so that creates that pathway into the dual credit and community college as well, and the SAT that you provide for students. You also have an AP program here, and we won't really talk about AP today. We're going to focus on that first strand of tests, particularly the Ready Step, PSAT, and the SAT. Why do you use College Board assessment and programs? Because it makes sense. It connects to everything that you already do. They are aligned to your TEKS in the curriculum. If you take a piece out of the STAR and you take a piece out of the PSAT and you put those questions side by side, you'll notice that they're very similar. As the STAR has been redesigned, it looks a lot more like the PSAT. That demand of rigor is there as well. And so they're all kind of connected together. This is the data from the past 2 years for your PSAT and Ready Step, and I wanted you to see a year-over-year progress. You can see in 2012 the PSAT 11th grader, the PSAT 10th grade, and what I really want to look at is Ready Step 8th grade. That's when I came in and I really started working very closely with Ms. Robinson, and you can see that within that first year there was a 5% increase. So we've really spent time working with principals, talking to them, making sure, visiting classrooms. Teachers have a newfound understanding as well through conversations with principals. I also wanted you to notice the little box on the side there, that the opportunity that you give your students to take the PSAT twice, the sophomore and junior year, they consistently perform better on the SAT than students in Judson who had only taken it once, or students who have not taken the PSAT or the Ready Step, and they perform a total of 96 points better on the SAT if they take it twice than students who take it once, and it is even more significant for students that have not taken the PSAT. So those opportunities are boosting student scores as you go along. So this is a 2-year trend for your SAT, and really this data is to kind of give you an idea of the progress that's being made. And I really want to highlight the math because that is phenomenal progress over 2 years. A 7-point increase compared to the state. The state remained flat, completely flat in scores on that critical math, whereas Judson rose 7 points. That is a huge gain. And then compared to the nation only rose 2 points. So you are outpacing, in most cases, in all 3 of these, the state and the nation. And the only place that you really remain flat or see any kind of dip, which really I would still call remaining steady, is in critical reading. Because there just isn't a difference from one year to another. So you are outpacing the state and the nation. That's phenomenal news, and it is a testament to the work that your principals and your teachers, and particularly your students, do in their daily practice of learning. I do want to talk to you about some things that are coming up in the College Board very briefly. We're really committed to making sure that all students have an opportunity to succeed in college and careers. And because of that, you can see some things that we're doing here. We want to propel students into opportunities that they've earned. So every student that takes the SAT that is economically disadvantaged will receive 4 college application fee waivers so that they can apply to 4 colleges for free. So every student in need that takes the SAT will receive that from the College Board. There is an all-in campaign where we are looking to pull students in that are underrepresented so that they have the best opportunities to succeed in college and careers. We are redesigning the SAT. You may have heard that little news item. We are redesigning the SAT so it is more relevant to what students are doing every single day, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. Test prep will now be free and open. We have a partnership with the Khan Academy, so students will be able to access that test prep for free, all students. So we are knocking down that inequity so that every student has the opportunity to prepare for the SAT for free. And Khan Academy, you may have heard of, is the predominant online learning system that's available for students. And then, of course, we are going to create 6 through 12 modules for students so that they can learn consistently and prepare for the SAT, and they can prepare for college. And then personalized online guidance for those students. This is what the redesigned SAT looks like. We are moving back to a 1,600-point scale. The essay is becoming optional. And I see a smile already. That's a very popular thing that we're doing. So the essay is no longer required. You know that really challenging SAT vocabulary that you had to study, that you had flashcards just for that vocabulary and you never ever used it? It's gone. Now vocabulary will be relevant to what students are doing in their lives, in careers. It will all be connected to college and careers. The ultimate outcome is for students to be able to function and think critically in careers so they can contribute back to the community like you do. If you have any questions or comments for me, this is my information. Feel free to contact me as needed. And I kept that very brief and said a lot so I could address your questions for a little bit longer. So if you have questions, at this time, I'd be glad to answer any.
We'll start to the left. Mr. LaFoyle? Okay, Ms. Adair?
I had 2 questions.
Yes, ma'am.
One, when you said we were flat on critical reading, can you explain that in a little bit more detail?
Sure. What happened from critical reading to 2012, and I went back to the slide for you,
Very good.
that the students performed the same. Now, something that's really important to remember is that you're talking about SAT test takers in 2012 and SAT takers in 2013, and they're not the same students. So the students in 2012 graduated and went on, and then your senior class of 2013 performed the same. So we're not following students, and I could present that information for you so you can see full cohorts of kids from 8 through 12. I'm happy to put that together for you if that's what you need. But these are not the same students. Is that kind of...
Yes, I would actually ask Dr. Mackey and Ms. Robinson if maybe at a future board meeting you could address maybe what we might need to look at to...
May I say one thing? At program review, Ms. Adair, we're bringing a more comprehensive of everything with this, including Princeton review, the whole big picture. And we do have recommendations at that time.
Thank you, and I'm sure they'll involve money, right? My other question was, has the SAT been redesigned to Common Core?
The SAT has been redesigned to align with Common Core and the TEKS. So you will find a tight alignment to the TEKS here in the state of Texas, but yes, it does align to the Common Core as well.
But however, our students here in the great state of Texas will not suffer any inadequacies because of SAT aligning to the Common Core, and we are not.
Absolutely
All righty,
not.
thank you.
It will reflect the daily practice that students do every day.
Mr. Macias?
Thank you. This is one of my favorite topics, so I really appreciate you being here. I did notice you mentioned about the prep, and that's something obviously that we're doing in the district. Princeton Review is one of them. And so the prep, though, is it online based, the referencing to that? So it's not a classroom environment like our Princeton Review might be. I guess, and you worked with a lot of districts, I guess, in the Southwest region. I guess, in your opinion, is that classroom environment helpful to our student success? Are you seeing other districts utilize that concept?
In terms of like a Princeton review face?
Or a review in a classroom. It doesn't have to be Princeton, obviously, but any type of review in that capacity.
I think that the important thing to remember is to meet kids where they are, whether that is online or face-to-face. Some students prefer that interaction. Some prefer online. I think what's great about the Khan Academy is that both teachers and students can use it and view it. And so if you have students that are looking at it online and reviewing it online, and their teachers are doing that as well, then they can come back to the classroom and get that face-to-face interaction and daily practice and instruction. So some districts do that, some districts don't. It's really a preference of the district. But the intention of the College Board's partnership with Khan Academy is simply to have something that is offered to everyone. So that regardless of, in some school districts, as is public knowledge, it's targeted towards a few students, like a Princeton review or a face-to-face. Some, it is open to everyone, but only a few students register for it. Whereas the online can be used continually, anytime, with no time limit.
And don't get me wrong, I think the online component is definitely an enhancement, and it reinforces things. But I feel a little tied to the concept of a classroom instruction for multiple reasons. But I don't know if that attributes to the scores going up. I know that we're doing a lot of wonderful things here, and that's not the only thing we're doing. But, I mean, combined, I think it's helping. I didn't notice the scores, test scores. I see that you mentioned a +7 statewide, +5 nationally in critical reading. But overall, my concern some time ago was that we were flat and actually declining on total cumulative SAT scores. We didn't see a rise where in other districts they were seeing an increase in that composite score. What does it look like for right now? This was, I think, last year when I took a 5-year trend analysis. Where are those numbers that we're seeing here, the positives in the critical math and writing, reflective of higher SAT scores currently? Do you know that?
It's reflective of the growth in the score. So the 444, we'll look at the 453 and the 460. So you see that 7-point rise in your scores, and you compare that to the state. The state saw no rise. So that critical mean is flat compared to what it was. And then the +5 means that Judson outpaced the nation by 5 points, which means the nation critical math mean only rose 2 points, whereas you rose 7. So it's more, this slide is more focused on the growth than the actual scores. But that information can definitely be provided to you.
Well, I mean, obviously it would just reinforce what you're saying here. I just would like to see what that broad snapshot looks like. The goal is to get our scores higher. I think there's a threshold that if it hits a certain point scale, there's scholarship opportunities are available for students. So we want to get them to that higher test score average, basically. And I don't know if I should just add the 444, 460, and 425 and come up with an average. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out what that looks like.
And that is the average cumulative score if you add those three together.
Okay, and so compared to last year, so we are, if I were to see the graph, a 5-year graph, I should see a slight increase.
You would see an increase, definitely. And again, I think a big point of pride for a district is that 7-point growth, because that is not an average growth for districts in general. To grow 7 points in any area, particularly math. So that should be a definite point of pride for you.
Well, that it certainly is. And I know we've been focused on writing, too. There's been whole half hours, I believe, focused on that. And that's, I mean, I don't know if that means anything, but our writing did go up a little bit. So that's all good. How often do you partner with Ms. Robinson? Are you in the district, or you visit once a week, once a month?
Well, I can tell you that we often.
Okay.
Often. My role, actually, I'm an educational manager, so my role is to work with Judson in as deep a level as possible. So if I'm asked to come and work with principals, teachers, counselors, the community, I do that. And I do that as often as is needed. So all that Ms. Robinson needs to do is pick up the phone, or Mr. Mackey, pick up the phone and say, Melanie, I want you to come down and talk to so-and-so, or we really want you to partner with us on this strategy and this programming for how we can help students raise those SAT scores. And you're doing some really good things in terms of giving the Ready Step and the PSAT twice and then SAT really helps prepare students. And it is you used the word reinforcement earlier. That is a reinforcement all along. It also creates a certain level of comfort for students, and that's something that we've been talking about in terms of getting the SAT on a school day, is that all the students then have that opportunity to have that experience.
And I think obviously the vision in our discussions, whether we do accommodate sophomores and juniors in these type of preparatory courses to allow them to have that opportunity to take the test. I like that you stated if they take it early, they're going to score better. And sometimes we're focused on the seniors, and by then it may be too late in some respect. Well, I'm just very proud of this. I appreciate you coming by, and look forward to your continued partnership.
Ms. Williams? Mr. Salyer? Mr. Flores?
Thank you.
Thank you. Franklin, right? Ms.
Yes.
Thank you very much. That was great information. It's good to hear when it's the pluses.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. We appreciate your help.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate
Thank
your
you.
time.
Dr. Mackey, construction update, and I think you gave us some information in there in case any board members.
Yes.
We're doing okay in the elementary? On time.
Dr. Mackey, in regards to, where we're at on the high school now, I know we haven't done any contracts or anything. And Mr. Elizondo was here when we did it in 2006. We had a timeline on when we expect the contracts to go out, when we expect, and I know that we had put some money into the construction, not construction, the architectural. So hopefully we're trying to move the timeline up about a year or so, if I'm not mistaken. No?
It's a 2-year project.
Okay, but if we hadn't done what we did before, it was going to take, I'd like a timeline as far as when things will happen. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Mackey. We're going to do one more. I think they have Mr. Item D. Update on auditorium, Mr. Salyer.
Yes, thank you very much. We've sort of worked with this for years, months, okay? Everybody got the aquatic feasibility study back in January. You know, I get accused of being a numbers person. Here's my numbers, the feasibility cost, what it'll cost. And in today's board book, the proposed lease revenue bond series financing. Now that 5.5 is very conservative. That's the top, right, Mr. Lozano? It's 5.5, the bonds? Yeah, that's the maximum top would pay. So here's where I'm at. We've been messing with this for 3 years. There's all kinds of, people say we've had bonds and it didn't fail, and we've had this and we have that. It's time for this board, in my opinion, to step up and do the right thing. We have new football fields, new baseball fields, our bonds paid for all this. The only thing we have not addressed or taken care of is what? The pool. The pool is 50 years old. It is 50 years old. We've put a few $1 million in this pool the last 10 years just to fix it. There's nothing anywhere says we won't put another $1 million in this pool in the next 4 or 5 years. So here's what I want to do tonight, is sort of give the superintendent and the administration some direction. To go and look at this and put a package together, talk to the architects, and say, how do we do this? And this will be an action item next board meeting in April. I'm going to put this, I did not make it an action item because I want to discuss with everybody, see how everybody feels, let everybody chew on this, but it's time to quit playing around with these people. It's time to quit playing around with the swimmers. The other thing I've heard some of my colleagues on the board, well, where we put it. I don't care. If you build it, they will come. Swimmers are very different. Okay, we'll put it on north side, south side, middle side. A pool is like is like a gym. You're going to go to your favorite gym. Swimmers are very different. They don't go to, they drive all over to go to the pool we have now. It really doesn't matter to me. I'll entertain any idea. If we have the land, or we can purchase it, my only criteria is easy access from everywhere. Okay, if we put it at the new high school, right across the street, south side, doesn't matter. They will come. So let's just take that off the board. You know, let's don't fight over where we're going to put this thing. Because swimmers are different. They're going to go where the pool is. If there's one pool, that's where they're going to go. They might want to go to Wagner, Judson for football or baseball. Swim folks aren't like that. So here's what I want to do. I want to get a consensus of how everybody feels on this. Knowing that next board meeting in April, I'm going to have this an action item. I'm going to make people vote on this, want people to vote on it. I hope you all support it. And we have the numbers. If you look at our aquatic feasibility study, the first year it'll cost about $62,000 to operate. And it goes up and down a little bit. We're talking $60,000, $70,000 a year to operate according to this study. Okay? So my recommendation is that we tell the superintendent administration to put a package together, talk to the architects, let's find the land and build this. And I want that as an action item next month. Not an action item to build it, but an action item to see if this happens. So I'm open for discussion. I want to hear how everybody feels.
Ms. Williams.
First, I just want to start by saying I really appreciate the work that's gone into this, and for those of you sitting in the audience, we've, as a board, received lots and lots, like dozens of emails in the last week or so talking about this. I personally think this is a wonderful idea, Steve, but I do have concerns because and here's the tricky part for me. I was put on this board not to represent myself and my ideas because I think it's great. As a parent, as a taxpayer, I think it's a wonderful opportunity. But I am sitting up on this board because I'm an at-large trustee, and I was elected to represent the concerns of the community at large. So that means from the top of the district to the bottom of the district. We have had not one failed bond with a natatorium, not two, but 3. I mean, these are before my time, but we've had at least 3 failed bonds, I believe, that have had a natatorium on it. So that's my concern, is in order for me to go ahead and knowingly vote for something that my constituents have voted down time and time again, I think that that's actually wrong. I have a moral obligation to represent the people that put me here, and it's for that reason that without having more reason to go above, I guess my bottom line is for me to vote and move forward with something that I know my constituents have voted down, I need to have more of a solid reason on why we need this natatorium. So for that reason, I can't support it at this time. Thank you.
Mr. Flores.
Thank you. This natatorium has been called MetroCom Natatorium. I think as part of this deal, we need to see who we can partner with. If it's going to be a MetroCom, or with the city of Universal City, Bexar County, like they did with Northside, the way that we did it with the sidewalks. If we can find a partner like this, because not only it costs money to run this pool and to run it right, because everything that we do, we've got to do it right. Something that's going to last a long time, and you look at what's been going on. Why other entities haven't built a pool. It's not a moneymaker, it's not. And we're not in the money-making business here. But we are to help our kids and to help the community. Not only did a pool fail last time, but a library. We wanted to do a community library, and that failed in 2010. But, so I think that if we want to come together as a MetroCom natatorium, we need to get buy-in by municipalities in order for us to see if we can alleviate some of the costs. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Yes, Gilbert, I agree, but it's not going to happen. We have met with Northeast Lakeview. I've met, and some of the board members I dragged to Universal City. It's not going to happen. Okay? It's not going to happen because we've tried over and over again to partner. People do not want to partner. Northeast Lakeview doesn't have the money. They don't want to do it. They're not going to put it in their budget. We've already talked to them. They don't want to pay for it. Yeah, they don't want to pay for it. No one wants to put money in it. Universal City's got the land. They want us to put the money up. I'm of the mind that if we keep it ourselves, we run it, we pay for it, whatever we get out of it. When you partner with people, that means a partnership. Look right across Cipolo Creek, what's happened with the pool, right? Look what happened. That's a partnership, right? That partnership didn't work out. They have a lot of problems over there, okay? That partnership is failing with Schertz and the school district over there, okay, with the Y. So my intent is to do this on our own, okay? And in Chargeville, Northeast Lakeview, they use our pool already. They're already using our pool, and we're charging them for it, okay? Now, if we have a bigger facility, we will be able to do that. Lakeview uses our pool right now. Yeah, they do. Yeah. Right. If we have a facility, yeah.
We did it one time. We had an MOU with them to
Right.
use the pool, and then they canceled the class because they didn't have any use.
We did it,
And
right?
Mike, we're still not.
We're
still
not. Are we
having
doing it now?
That's correct.
Okay, I'm corrected on that. But I think it's time for this board to do the right thing. And yes, and I'm going to go back. Yes, Beth, we've had bonds, and they failed, and they failed, and they failed. But you know what? Let's talk about the fairness to the kids. Look at the sports facilities that this district has for every kid but swimming. It's appalling. It's appalling that those kids are in that pool over there. When you have a brand new $15 million football field, you got all new sports fields, soccer, football, everything else, and the kids are in a 50-year-old pool. To me, that's appalling as a district board member here. And Beth, you're right, it has failed. But it's time for this board to stand up and do the right thing for the kids. Why doesn't Wagner have a swim program? You can't fit them in there. How about the new school? Is the new school going to have a swim program? We don't have a pool to put them in it. How do you know what this swim program is going to do if you don't build it? It's limited by the size and what it has now. So I'm just saying it's time for this board to step up. And the community's listening on this. You all got the emails. The community is listening on this one.
Say there.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a little bit of what Mr. Flores said and Mr. Salyer. And I have to agree with Ms. Williams. We have had some failed bonds for the pool. But I want to thank Mr. Salyer and the committee for the work and the meetings, and I want to thank all of the citizens that took time to email me and let me know your thoughts. That certainly provides us with some insight. I'm willing to have the superintendent to dig a little deeper with the information he's been provided. I know I did go with you, Mr. Salyer, to Universal City maybe a year ago. They were very interested in partnering with us, but they didn't show us any money. They wanted to say they were here with us, you know. And I'd like some details on, Dr. Mackey, on what's going on with the Schertz-Cibolo, because they were one of the users of our pool. I had wrote that down before you said it wasn't going well. I'm not familiar with what's occurring there. And Northeast Lakeview has a new president, so I think we need to go back and re-inquire. But I think we need to touch all of our partnership bases. I can only tell you about the city of Live Oak. We have a very functioning pool and swim team. And so I know the citizens in the city of Live Oak would appreciate it if Judson would get a bigger pool for their swimmers and the Dolphins to progress up to the next level. But everything hinges on money, and so I would ask the superintendent to provide more details along with when the next time we will be looking at a bond. So, thank you. And I'm not opposed to the pool. I just think we need some more. We need to send the superintendent out there to check with these entities, and then he can say, no, they're not willing to partner, no, they're not going to help us with money, and then we know exactly where we stand and how much we're going to invest into it.
Mr. Macias.
Thank you. This is Again, I echo the comments of Ms. Adair in terms of the outreach from the citizens in regards to this matter. It's been a very passionate one, and we appreciate that. I think that there are a lot of positives to having a swimming facility. Health is one of them. But Mr. Flores was correct in that it did fail its last bond pretty significantly. I think it was the one that had the largest no's out of the options that were on the table. I believe that we need a municipal partnership. There are infrastructure. The City of Converse would love to partner. I don't know if they have the viability or capacity to do so, but their swimming pool all the way in the back of Converse could be expanded if we were to look into a joint partnership. Our property neighbors, the swimming pool, it sounds like it could be viable. I think that's the way we would need to do it, because spending $6, $8, $12 million is a lot of money. The other way that this could probably happen that would be, I think, very appropriate is to put it on our next bond and just put it out there. I mean, this is infrastructure we're building. So my big concern, where I can agree with Mr. Sellier a little bit, is that we've done nothing really to sustain Coronado where our current infrastructure is, which means every several years it's going to cost us a lot of money to repair the pool. And so in the long run, we're just putting Band-Aids on a problem that's going to get worse. So we do need to address the issue. I don't even know if expanding Coronado is an option. I would imagine it would be less costly to do that than to build a brand new pool, find property, and all that kind of stuff. But we don't have answers to that, and to say, yeah, let's do it when there are other potential options wouldn't be prudent on the board's part. So you wanted my opinion. That's my opinion on the matter.
Ms. Williams.
As for expanding that area, I'm pretty sure that's not an option at all. If you've been out there, we'd have to take out some houses to expand. I don't know that we're in the business to do that either. But that you guys have brought up one of my one of the points I failed to bring up is just the idea of placing this on a bond. I think that the committee that's been together has had more of an organized, more information available, and to put this to the community. I mean, this is a very impressive piece of information they've put together. And again, I'm the young one on the board. I wasn't here for all of those bonds that included the natatoriums, but this has got to be the most organized effort and most collaborated effort by our community and even surrounding communities that would want to and would access this pool. So that, as a board member, again, sitting here to represent the entire district with 3 failed bonds, that's what I would want to see, is how soon can we get this on a bond and present the community with all this information that these folks have worked so hard to put together, while we're researching other possibilities of who may or may not want to partner, or however we want to look at it. But thank you. That's my question.
Well, that's why I brought this up. I want to hear what everybody feels like. I mean, there's no hard feelings here. That's why I did this. I want to hear what people feel like. And I want to address a couple of things that people brought up. And again, yes, we've had several bonds. But as regard to partnerships, I personally have reached out to Schertz. I talked to Georgia Tuna about this. He wanted us to partner. I said, we can't partner across the creek, so it's not going to happen. You talk about us getting strung up, put a pool in another school district on the other side of the creek, that's not going to happen, okay? I can tell you we have approached a whole lot of people, and no one wants to partner with us. Now, if we want to do it again and formally go ask people, I have no problem with that, but I can tell you what the answer is going to be. Yeah, we want everything. We want to control it, and we want all your money, but we don't want you to run it. That's what you're going to hear. That's what we've heard all so far. Everybody wants to deal for their best side. I think we should keep this in the district just like Northeast and North Side does. It's their pool. They run it. They take the revenue. They don't have to deal with anybody else, okay? The revenue stream's there, good or bad. Now, if you look at the huge pool complex over there by Morgan's Wonderland, okay? It's their pool. The county put $7 million in it. Why did they put $7 million in it? Because they were expecting $30 million tax return over the first 10 years because of hotel, restaurant, in return, okay? That's why they gave them $7 million, because they were going to get their part back. I would love to partner with, get some money out of county for this, because why are you going to have 8, 9, 10 meets over there, and they know they're going to get their money back in sales tax? I think it's just time for us to bite the bullet. And I understand what you say about the bonds, but we need to do the right thing. And sometimes on the board, you have to do the right thing. Even though, yes, we all represent our districts and we all represent our kids, it's time to do the right thing for the kids. And this is not a lot of money over 15 years. Not a lot of money at all. So I'll entertain any ideas, but it's going to be a discussion and voting item in April. Thank you.
Yeah, just real quick. Thank you, Mr. Salinas. Even the concept of having the facility built in Kirby, or the southern part of our district near Wagner, that has some potential. And I think that from an economic development standpoint, that could help that region. So, again, there's a lot of potential, but I think it's going to come down to partnerships and working with our county. We gave our county $300,000 for sidewalks, so give us back some money and support for a swimming pool. There's just opportunities out there, so we need to explore those.
Yes, Ms. Adair.
I just have one question. Our board book information said INS versus M&O. Dr. Mackey, can you tell the board what that means?
Sure,
INS versus M&O.
I'm sorry. What it means is that typically when we sell bonds, we go to the voters and ask them for approval, and what they're really doing is approving that we raise the tax rate enough to pay whatever the principal and interest payments are for those bonds. This particular debt would be coming out of the local maintenance side, so we're not going to go back and levy a tax specifically for these bonds. It's just going to be paid out of our normal operating revenue that we generate for the general operating fund. It would come out of the M&O.
Okay, so when we're looking at this, and of course, I guess by the time you bring it back, I don't know how far we're going to be in our budget. Of course, my concern is still, as always, how are we paying for STEM? No one still told me. I listened to you guys talk about the unbudgeted amendments we did, and so we're going to have STEM coming up, and so you're talking about this money coming out of M&O, which is also where we're going to need to fund STEM Academy this coming year. Is that correct?
That would be correct.
Okay.
Mr. Adair, I want to correct something. That, yes, we have STEM, and yes, we're talking about the pool issue, but these are items that board members recommended and supported. We just following. Oh, I thought you were asking, not telling us. Okay.
Thank you. Yes, it's been brought out that it's been voted down 3 times. Well, I voted for it. So, again, my concern is if we have the land, it would be great. I think we would have more priority. Say, you know what? Let's go ahead and see, like Mr. Sellier said, let's get the architects. Let's get something going. So we'll know. So the community will know. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if we put it on the bond, it's not going to pass. But I agree. Why are we doing everything else for everything else except our swimmers who have brought a lot of pride to Judson because they've won a lot of awards? So we can't say, well, no, they really never. They do. They bring in a lot of things. So in a way, I support Mr. Sellier up to a certain point because it scared me when he said 5.5, but he said, but wait a minute, that's just an estimate. It might be lower than that. And I think the interest rates at this time is lower, but he wants to put it as an agenda item, and I will entertain that. I will put it, he's requesting an item to be placed, and I will be placing that item for the April. In between, and maybe some of you board members want more information, get together with Dr. Mackey and see what other ideas they want. I've asked about the Lakeview. I'm sorry, Councilman Brown, I forgot about Converse might be possible, but anyway, it's an idea. We have a lot of good ideas. The committees have presented good ideas, so it's going to be there. We'll find out in April. Thank you very much. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. LaFoy. Thank you, sir. I'm sorry, I didn't see your names.
Let me give you a little history about the bonds with natatorium on it. The first time they put it on there, they put it on, I believe Dr. Sikowski was on the board at that time, and he put it on as a sports complex, a huge complex. They just threw that one straight out. The next time, they partnered it with a high school, I believe. Both of them got thrown out. The last time, they was by himself, and they didn't vote for it. But I agree with what you've just said, what Mr. Silers just said. The thing is, we're shortchanging our kids. I mean, look at here. I agree with what he said on the football. Look at the stadium they got. State-of-the-art stadium. Look at the baseball field. State-of-the-art. Look at the swimming pool. Piece of junk. I'm being honest about it. We need to do something for these kids. And it's about time we did, and I'm going to support it.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go one, I think we have a presentation we've been holding up. Item C, Report of United Communities of San Antonio Metzger Middle School. Mr. Macias.
Yes, I invited Barbara Mead and United Communities of San Antonio to address the board on their program. Please, Ms. Mead and anyone else in your party, to talk about this great program that's helping a lot of our kids, and something that I thought you guys would like to know more about. Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. I know it's late, and I know we've got a lot more on the agenda for you folks, but I am really, really excited to be able to talk to you and introduce this program of what we're doing over at Metzger. I want to introduce, as Mr. Macias said, the United Communities of San Antonio and Mrs. Maudie Marida. If you would stand up, Maudie. She is the executive director of the foundation and the organization, and she has been working with Metzger at our request and has made a huge difference in what we're doing over at Metzger. Some of you have seen some of our programs on the campuses, the workshops, the dialogue groups. Mr. Macias had the opportunity to go to the 2004 fundraising gala for the UCSA. But those of you that aren't familiar with it, I really, really hope that you look through your folder that we provided for you, because it gives you a lot of information about United Communities of San Antonio, what they do, their history, and what their anti-bullying and bigotry and racism is all about. And that's why we brought them in. They have done made such a difference in our school climate and atmosphere that we wanted to share this information with you so that you would know what we're doing. In the packet is also some quantitative and qualitative information on the left-hand side from Metzger about scores, about incident reports in terms of discipline and so forth like that, that we are changing the whole dynamics of Metzger Middle School, and part of that is we treat the students and the children that come to Metzger Middle School on the whole child concept. It is not just about learning the STAR. It's not just about learning academics. It's about life and how they have to be able to be prepared to get through not only life learning, but also life and the experiences that they have in life. If you read the speech that I wrote, that I gave at the gala, the Black Tie Gala for UCSA, it'll give you a lot of detail and so forth about some of the heartrending stories that you will hear about from our students, and I think that you will find that very informative. But Mrs. Moraida has come to our school and has done in the last 3 years alone over $326,000 worth of in-kind, I need to get this right, in-kind services with no promise of commitment or allocament of future funds. But that means that she's come and spent 3 years of time and commitment to Metzger and has not charged us a penny. I was able to give her a total of $1,200 out of our campus counseling fund one time, and she has made this all possible by commitment to Metzger, and we have found that it has not been in vain. Miss Eileen Arbetter, and if you would stand up, Miss Arbetter. Most of you know Miss Arbetter, and have for years. She was a teacher at Judson High School when I was a counselor at Judson High School. She originally brought the UCSCSA to the Judson ISD district. She had a peer mediation program, and then she brought in Maudie's program. The counselors worked with her to make this program, to work with them as part of the program, and that's how I got familiar with it. It was doing wonders at Judson. Many of the people that went through that program at Judson are still adult volunteers with Maudie today. They still work with them. They come and work with our students and go out and tell the students what the program has done for them, because it literally has changed lives, and it's changing lives of our students out at Metzger. Ms. Arbetter was going to speak tonight to give you a little more history, but in the effort of time constraints, we have cut a couple of people that were going to speak. If you would like to hear her, she's prepared to, but we wanted to keep this tight. Mrs. Ross and I arrived at Metzger 4 years ago at the same time. And what we saw when we walked into Metzger was that often the academics were brought down because of the emotional baggage that our students carry. They had come from homes and situations that are truly heartrending to listen to, and we have been listening to them for some time. What that results in is our students have a tendency to have negative behaviors, aggressive responses to altercations, and poor concentration on academics. So our leadership team decided that we needed to do something about this. And so with the leadership team, we've improved curriculum. We've improved instruction. The STAR tests show that. We have made significant difference in the quality of instruction through our instructional coaches. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Through our academic dean, which has made a huge difference in our school. But we were still seeing that the emotional needs weren't being met. Teachers teach bell to bell, and they don't have time to stop and work with a kid that's got a lot of baggage that they need to unload. Our approach was to find a program based on the needs of our community and our school and our campus. We know that differentiating in the classroom is expected, and we believe that differentiating in counseling programs and goals is also should be an objective. It's important in trying to educate students that we approach them with differentiation. Each school district in our district has a unique characteristic, and not all of them are going to be met by one program. So we aren't claiming in any way that this is a cure-all for schools, but it has had a significant, I'm telling you, significant impact on Metzger. Since we incorporated UCSA programs into our school within the whole child approach, along with our improved instruction, focus on leadership, we have seen scores go up, disciplinary referrals go down. We have seen our school visited by Northside, Northeast, East Central, and we've still got more planned visits coming this spring to our school because we have become a model school in the district. thanks to all the programs and systems that we've put in place at Metzger, and this is one of them that we have put into place. So please listen as we're going to have some folks talk about, from a personal experience, of what they are coming from. We have also expanded into our feeder schools. Both Candlewood and Woodlake are using UCSA programs now. Dr. Battle is going to speak to that with regard to Woodlake. Dr. Ali is going to speak on behalf of a teacher at Metzger and what he sees and how he, the interaction with the students. As I said, Mrs. Morita is here as well, because I know that you all want to hear it from the horse's mouth, not from just reading it in a packet or what you hear from a little saying, but we've got real people to tell you what's going on, because we believe in what this is doing. We would like to, we want to continue it, and it has definitely impacted us. One of the things that I do want to read to you, Dr. Gloria Nash was a consultant with Trice, who was with our program at Metzger because we were on a stage, and she fully intended to be here. And she wanted to speak on behalf of the program. She came to one of our groups and wanted to speak on the program. So when she found out she was going to be in Oklahoma this week, she wrote a letter to me and begged me to please read this to you. So bear with me as I read this from Dr. Gloria Nash of Thrice Educational Resources. Dear Ms. Mead, as school districts are faced with the enormous task of providing programs and resources for school leaders and teachers to engage learners, it is apparent to me that this challenge cannot and will not be realized without the transformation of our school's culture. It is the established culture based on relationships, an aligned belief system, and reciprocated respect that influences the way we see the world. And yes, most importantly, how we see the children that we serve. One such organization that challenges schools to achieve transformation dedicated to fighting bias, bigotry, and racism in San Antonio is the United Communities of San Antonio. Through their understanding and appreciating our differences, workshops, and focus groups, the transformation is obvious. Without a doubt, these programs offer a refreshing look into the eyes of all children and a better way of understanding the types of students that we are dealing with. As an educational consultant hired by the district to work with Metzger, I was so thankful to be invited to observe and participate in one of the dialogue sessions with 6th grade students provided by UCSA. The session was conducted by Ms. Murata, with dialogue often resulting in heightened emotion with the teacher and students all participating in various activities, and it was powerful. It was in a safe, trusting environment, free of judgment and negative influence. This experience touched my spirit and truly inspired me to want to do more with our children and for our children. I came away from the session affirmed that effective communication and relationship building with children is fundamental for student and school success, and feeling the power and commitment to leave no child out of the most important experiences of their lives, the joy of learning. We constantly speak of schools in the sense of low test scores, low teachers and student morale, high dropout rates, and public distrust of the quality of education being delivered to children. But this type of program helps to dispel this talk. It is apparent that UCSA has had a tremendous impact on improving student academic achievement and discipline. UCSA is giving hope to students at Metzger Middle School. It brings visibility to the importance of meeting students' individual needs and providing a safe and trusting environment and avenue for communication to occur. UCSA and the trusted programs they run are truly programs that I will recommend to districts across the country. Again, thank you for the wonderful experience. Dr. Gloria J. Nash. So now I would like to, again, introduce, that needs no introduction, Dr. Battle, and then Dr. Ali, and then we will be available for any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Ms. Mead. Distinguished members of the board, Dr. Mackey, and members of the cabinet, I've been asked to speak on behalf of the United Communities of San Antonio this evening. When I met Marty I was a second-year assistant principal at Eloff Elementary. I was informed of her work with students at Judson High School, which focused on accepting diversity, conflict resolution, and the conveyance of mutual respect toward one another. I also knew that her organization, United Communities of San Antonio, had for years played an important part in fostering mutual understanding among ethnic and social groups citywide. I was even more intrigued after speaking with Maudie in person. She was kind, compassionate, no nonsense, and put the needs of the students first. Now, 3 years later, I'm a principal at Woodlake. When Ms. Mead at Metzger informed me that the district had engaged Maudie and her colleagues at Metzger to work with elementary students, I was delighted. This has been our second year of the program's implementation here at Woodlake, and the results have been significant. Our students connect to Maudie and her staff immediately. I think it was because the young men and women involved represented personalities and ethnicities from every walk of life. Their lives reflect our students' lives. In her sessions, students feel accepted and a sense of genuineness and caring permeates the room. Students are comfortable in sharing their innermost thoughts and do so very candidly in group discussions. She has worked with our 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders so far, and she will meet with our 2nd graders for the first time in May. Every session is an overwhelming success. The students are always asking when Miss Maudie and her team are coming back to Woodlake. The program has had a significant impact on our teachers. As they sit in the classroom sessions, many for the first time begin to gain insight into their students' lives outside of school. They begin to understand that some of the undesirable behaviors they witness daily are our children's way of expressing some of the pain that so many of them have to endure. As a principal in this district, it's become a reality that many of our children are wounded by home situations caused by adult immaturity and selfishness, wounded by neglect, haunted by low self-esteem and feelings of hopelessness. Even some of our best and brightest children need a non-judgmental party who will let them know that their worries and fears are all just a part of growing up. Maudie's program fills that need. Because we continually reinforce, in conjunction with our PBIS program, daily her program tenets of self-respect, mutual respect, and appropriate ways of interacting and solving problems with others, the incidences of bullying and name-calling and other negative behaviors have significantly decreased in our building. In the spring of 2012, we had recorded over 225 discipline referrals. Last year, we had less than 100. This year, we stand at 88. The program provided by the United Communities of San Antonio is a great asset to our school community. It is a solution-based program which offers strategies in making good choices as well as offering conflict resolution skills for our students. It is without reservation that I recommend that Maudie and her program become a permanent part of our school community. I sincerely hope that the board will approve funding to keep it here in our district. She has become a significant part of our Woodlake family, and her presence and the continuance of her program is critical to our students' well-being and success. She's an asset to our organization and to the greater San Antonio community at large. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Mead, if we can make it brief so we can ask some questions. Go ahead, sir.
Good evening, Board. Thank you for an opportunity to advocate on behalf of Metzger Middle School. I'm a 6th grade teacher teaching both regular and pre-AP. I will keep the comments brief. I ask my students to evaluate this program and ask them 3 important questions during the writing initiative. I have the students write for 50 minutes a day, actually on Friday, and I asked them to address these 3 questions. First question being whether or not they like or dislike the program. And I wanted the students to be honest. You have to give the students a authentic purpose for writing, and I wanted them to go through that process. The second thing I asked the students is whether or not they would recommend this program to any other school in the district. Third thing I asked the students was what would they change about the program? What would they change about the program? I had the students think about that, and I had them reflect on that and have them write about whether or not they were going to stand before you and persuade you to either continue with the program or to cancel the program. That's a different type of writing. You're having the students to feel part of the community. You're having the students to feel like they have a voice. So Ms. Mahdi and what she's done for Metzger Middle School and for other schools in the district, she's given a voice for the voiceless. She's giving students an opportunity to write what they're passionate about. And I can say that most of the students have felt like this program is a necessity, not just a program that they just go for maybe 10, 20, 30, 40 minutes. They feel like this program is needed. In order to be whole, you have to go into a classroom setting. Having put the emotions aside, having put that family background aside, in order to be able to move forth with producing excellence. It's difficult to produce excellence if students don't know what to focus on. If students don't know what to focus on, it's really difficult to subdue that pain, that hunger that they've been able to endure over the course of 12 to 13 years. So we're talking about sixth graders. I know she's worked with seventh and eighth graders as well. But this program is needed. The program has helped the students focus on themselves. One student in particular used to bully other students. However, going through the program, she actually had felt and seen the effect of other students who she bullied. And that's different in the sense that you don't just get a referral and that student doesn't see. So it's kind of like in real life where you get an opportunity to look at someone that has hurt you. You know, you get a chance to see someone that has hurt you face to face. So with that, there comes a time where the students are able to say, you know, enough is enough. And this student today is a changed person. So with that, she said, you know, I no longer want to bully. And with that, she's become an advocate for other students. And with that, I'll make my closing statements. This program is needed. I want to make sure that we have it available for the students because most of them support this program. Thank you.
We'll be happy to entertain any questions whatsoever. I've got Ms. Lottie here, as she's known, as the executive director, to answer anything as well.
And I just want to share with my colleagues, I mean, I asked them to present because we'll be looking at possibly funding some of this in part. We don't have a lot of resources, but I think we might be able to do something to help these kids. And as a board member and a father, and my daughter went through this program. It was very helpful for her and made a difference even today. And I mean, she's now in college. So yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Thank you all for coming and for staying. I had a son that went through Ms. Arbetter's program, peer mediation, and he's still trying to use that psychology on me today. So it's something that was retained, and I have visited about a year ago and sat through the session with the students of Metzger, and wow, what was so impactful is the truths that the students released, not just of what they're going through with each other, but what they're going through at home. And when they broke down in tears and went to each other and comforted and consoled each other, even as the teacher was speaking of that student, I saw students get up and say, I'm the one that was bullying you. I was like, wow, you know, that takes a lot of guts. And then say, I'm sorry. I didn't know how you felt. I didn't know it hurt you. So I really, on behalf of Judson, you know, I can say on behalf of Judson because they're all sitting here tonight. Otherwise, I couldn't say that. But I want to thank you for the time, energies, and monies that you've dedicated unselfishly, I mean, out of your own company to assist our students. And our discipline report, our scores, all reflect that there is some kind of change going on at Metzger. So thank you very much.
Thank you very
I
much.
just want to say one thing, and that's to thank each of you for your support, and to Carolyn Ross, and to Barbara Mead, and Dr. Battles, and Dr. Ali. It's been an experience for me, and I do it because of them. When Miss Arbetter, I met her many years ago. Some of you may remember Tom Tulo. I started out with him at Judson High School. And so it's been an honor and a pleasure for me to work with the thousands of children that I worked with. And to hear some of them going, as you said, and apologizing to other students in front of their classmates and taking ownership for things that they've done is a tremendous feeling. So you have wonderful kids, you really do. And you have a wonderful staff out there at Metzger, and they care about the children. Out at Woodlake, the same thing. I mean, there's so much love and compassion for the children, and so that's where I come from, with the compassion that I have in wanting to make a difference. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. We're going to move on to discussion and consideration of action item B. This is on 5, discussion and consideration of action, and we're going to do item B because our legal is here. And B, consider and take possible action regarding approval to add an internal audit per TEC 11.170 component to review and maintain the 2013 bond. Mr. Macias.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Macias, second by Ms. Williams. Discussion. Go ahead.
Yes. We don't have to go into closed session for this,
No.
right? No, this is just for the attorneys to address. And who's the attorney present? Mr. Grimes. Yes, welcome. Thank you. We've had this item on our agenda before, so I wanted to reintroduce it because I think last time we had some discussion about cost and exactly what type of forensic analysis this bond would use. And I'm sorry?
Page 519.
519. So, needless to say, I feel that we probably need to take another look at this to really look at what type of oversight we're providing the 2013 bond. My goal is, of course, to add a level of oversight that we've not seen, especially in the face of the fact that we will need to go back to our community and ask for another bond, probably in less than 2 years. So when we go back, I want to be able to tell them that we're running a very tight ship, and that would include having some sort of internal audit component to provide oversight, which isn't unusual. I mean, many districts have an oversight component. Right now, I know that we have a citizens group in place, and I know that administration is monitoring it, and those are very important. We need to continue with those functions. But the internal audit component would be that next step, and one I think we should definitely entertain. So I know I can't answer all the questions, but that's, again, why we brought Mr. Grimes, who's an expert on addressing this here.
Stay there.
Well, it's good to see you, Mr. Grimes. We haven't seen you in a while, but I don't have any questions for you, but it's good to see you. I have to just say I apologize for not having been able to get with the superintendent. I just got back last night, but without any additional information, I'm not able to support this until we do the HR. That is primary to me, and for whatever reason, the president took it out of order. I want the HR audit pricing, and I can't vote to spend money on this, and we haven't done the HR, and I think the HR. Okay, Well, Mr. Grimes, I guess I do have a question for you then. What's it going to cost us, and what are you going to do?
If you will tell us what you would like us to do, then we will.
And I won't speak too much because I do know Mr. Sellier is next to speak on this, but just to address that real quick, the forensic analysis would be to monitor our expenditures and potentially expand that to look at how the construction is, the orders, if you will, I don't know what you call them, but the orders of how things are operating to see if they're, the invoicing, I guess that's what it would be, if that is all working to the highest degree. Now, the beauty is we're doing an elementary school. We're about to do a major project on the high school, so I think that sort of an assessment done maybe twice a year would be helpful. And so that's, I think, the ultimate goal. And that's just my initial vision. I'm more than agreeable to modify that, but having that in place would be helpful. And just to state page 707 of our board book, I believe, if I'm on the right page, 520, there is actually a document from Walsh Anderson illustrating 519 that illustrates a potential cost. Let's see, and I think it's in the 5,000 ballpark, not to exceed 5,500 for approximately 20 hours. So that's where I wanted to kind of start. It gives us at least a benchmark of what that cost would be to do this type of study. And in the communication from you, Mr. Grimes, it says that you would review invoices, payments, procedures, determine whether payments have been made in accordance with agreements.
Well, and that's limited to your professional services agreements that are in place now, because that's something that we can sort of get a handle on, and it's not an accounting function as much as it is reviewing the agreements, reviewing the pay requests from the professional service providers, and seeing if they were done appropriately based on the agreements. If you're talking about getting into the actual construction itself, when you audit a project, or when your external auditors come in for your annual audit, they use a sampling technique. They don't audit every invoice on every purchase that you do. So if you wanted a sample of the construction side, that would be one level of audit. If you wanted a complete audit of every contract, every pay request, every invoice, every change order, that would be a pretty major undertaking, and it's one that we would prefer to do just on our hourly fee basis, because I don't know that we could give you a price for that scope of work.
Mr. Sellier?
Yes. I'm going to repeat this again. These are hard bids. What's to audit? There's nothing to audit. We contracted to build a school for this price. They build a school for this price. We pay them in increments, right? And then we hold back money until the punch list and everything's done, and we pay them. What would you do, Mr. Grimes? It's a hard bid. Both these are hard bids. We write a check, and my understanding of a hard bid is how they divvy up the contractors and subcontractors is up to the contractor. We have contracted with the general contractor to build it. There's nothing to audit.
There's been some publicity recently about construction manager at risk projects, and to the extent the concern arises from that, you're right. The hard bid agreements are there's much less ability for a contractor or construction manager to abuse the billing on those. The thing that might deserve some investigation are change orders, if you have them, are expenditures for contingency allowances, things like that. But those are usually a very minor part of the cost of the work.
And those have to come to the board for approval.
Yeah, I don't know how you handle contingency or allowances.
If there's a change order, we have to approve it.
If it's within the contingency,
Right.
Whatever's in the contract,
Right.
then it's automatically done.
Right,
If it were to
automatic.
go beyond a contingency, then we have to come to the board for approval for more money for the project.
I mean, if, like, where we needed somebody to look at it, when we built Wagner and Judson High School, we didn't have it, but we had a project manager. We had oversight, and it didn't work out right. But well, go ahead.
We did audit Judson High School.
Right. Okay.
We had a third party.
Yeah, third party.
Mr. Laura Fowler.
Right. Miss out, right. Well, I guess my point is this is, and I'm all for oversight, but these are hard bids. There's nothing to audit. I mean, would they build a school? We write them a check. Who they hire and how they pay and who they pay is really none of our business. As long as the day we take ownership of that school, it's finished and complete. And our carrot and stick here is we don't write that final check until everything's done, just like we did Rolling Meadows. So I can't support this. I mean, it's a hard bid.
Mr. LaFoyle? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Mr. LaFoyle is next. Thank you. I would assume that if there was nothing to audit, then your services wouldn't be needed. I suspect, too, is if the amount of data that you will audit is minuscule, I would respectfully think that the cost then would be minor as well. I mean, we could be looking at $1,200 in terms of just auditing what needed to be. Now, the value added is that we are doing more than we've done. And as a practice, I feel that we need to add this type of oversight to all of the bond project. I will tell you that the elementary school is important, but the high school is going to be even equally important. It's a larger project. It's the $52 million right now, something to that degree. So oversight's important. If I can ask, I've seen other districts employ internal audit mechanisms. Are perhaps we focusing on the wrong aspect? Should we not be looking at invoices? Should we be looking at the other form of forensic analysis that might be better suited for this project?
Well, it depends on what your concerns are. I mean, you could do an evaluation of the process that the district uses to enter these contracts, to the procurement of both the architects and then subsequently for construction services. You could look at your forms of agreement. For many years, I've drafted model forms of construction contracts and architects contracts for the district. As the forms change over the years, we update those models. You could audit the process for paying your professionals, which is a little bit complicated, but I mean, it's something that if you wanted to, somebody could look at. Again, as has been pointed out, the auditing process for a competitive seal proposal job, a lump sum contract, is going to be really limited to allowances, contingencies, and change orders. So there's not a lot to audit there. The process for paying contractors is based on a percentage complete basis. Your architect has the responsibility of certifying those pay requests. They're the ones that are primarily liable for going out to the job and seeing that if they say 50% of the work's done, 50% of the work's done. So there's a much more limited area of risk in a hard bid contract than there is in, say, a competitive seal proposal contract.
Well, and I'll just say that the premise behind this whole concept was not to ever encounter the same hardships that the previous bond did in terms of the stadium or anything to that effect, even Wagner or Judson High School itself. We had no safeguards. It was not the oversight wasn't as effective as it could have been, and so naturally, when talking with our community. I mean, obviously, we represent the values of our community. They want that oversight, and they've been pretty loud and clear about that. So to sit here and not take any steps in that direction is, I think, careless on our part. So, again, I'm not an expert. That's why I've asked you to show, Mr. Salinas and I. But we need to do something more than what we've done. And I can't look at my community and say, well, we're just doing whatever. We need to be stronger in terms of that oversight. And I just don't think that we're doing that now. So if you have a recommendation, I'm open to it. This is why it's an action item, just in case we wanted to take a direction on it. We don't have a frame of reference of cost. We don't know exactly what you can provide in oversight. I don't know if I need to put this as RFQ and get somebody to do something different. And I guess the most important question you can answer would be to explain the significant difference between the previous bond where there was a lapse in oversight compared to what we're doing now and what we probably need to continue to do. So what is that big difference? Are you familiar with that?
We didn't provide a lot of the legal services on the previous bond. We did looked into some issues when there were problems, but the school district uses several law firms, and different firms handle different aspects of that. It's been a while back. I don't remember what involvement we had in the procurement aspect of it. Construction is a really complicated thing. I mean, every project is different, and I was in the construction industry for over 20 years, and I think the smartest guy I ever worked for said 1 million things can happen on a construction project, and only 2 of them are good. You can finish on time, and you can finish within the budget. And so the fact that a school district has a problem on a particular construction project isn't necessarily indicative of a failure on the part of the owner. If you wanted us to look at your process for entering contracts or managing contracts, we could help you with that. Again, we've been helping you for years. I mean, like I said, I have drafted a number of model, both architect agreements and construction agreements for the district over the years, going back almost 15 years. And as far as I know, y'all are using those models, and those are the best that we can do cost effectively to represent an owner in a construction contract. So
I was through with my questions. Thank you, Mr.
Mr. Matthias, how many audits have you brought to this board in the last 6 to 8 months? There must be at least 4 or 5. I've never seen anybody in my life, and I've been around 75 years, that's as distrusting as people as you are. I hope I never get that way.
I'm going to keep it to the agenda item, and that's not on the agenda.
Well, it's not
but
it's part of my thing.
I'll just say that part of the board's responsibility is to provide oversight. And so in order to provide
Okay, that's
oversight,
enough. Let me finish what I got to say. You talked for 10 minutes already. All right, here's the deal. You bring something to us that if you don't know how much it's going to cost, you don't know what they're going to do, you don't know where they're going to go. The thing is, go back and get your ducks in a row, bring it back, and then won't vote for it then.
Thank you. Well, Mr. Macias, I'm going to have to disagree on some of the stuff you're saying as far as, you weren't here when we had those problems with those bond issues. You're hearing from people that they're going to tell you one thing. Those same people are going to tell you one thing. Did they tell you that we had a project manager? When Dr. Mackey came in here, he put a project manager in place, and we spent over $1 million on that. Well, we spent over $1 million on that, and it got to the point where it was not cost productive. We did do the manager at risk, or the construction at risk manager that time, and at that time it looked like the best option to do. Now, as Mr. Salyer has said, we got a firm bid on this. You know, we're going to sign a contract. Where the problem comes in, or where the potential for problem comes in, is how the contract is written. Making sure that it's done right, all our ducks are in a row on that thing, and we get this done. Again, you know, we did have a project manager, so you coming on saying that we didn't have anything like that is wrong. You know, you have to look at everything that was done that way. And we spent that money, and like I said, and Dr. Mackey fired them after so long when they weren't doing what, you know, we were still over on that project, the high school project, and the stadium. So, you know, when you come in and make these statements like that, it's irresponsible. You know, I mean, have everything down as to what was going on. You know, and again, like Steve says, you know, this is a hard bid, and we're going to hold them to that. We're not going to pay them any more than that, but then we have to watch out on our if there's any change orders or anything like that. And that has to be in the contract. We have to do it the right way. Thank you.
Well, if I was sitting any closer to Mr. Flores, I think he was reading my notes. So following through with that, Dr. Mackey, how many change orders have we had so far on this project?
How many change orders we had?
Just guesstimate. I'm not going to make you hold swear on the Bible.
That's hard for me to say. We did some value engineering right off the bat because it came in so high, and the change orders since then have been extremely minimal. I mean, you know, there's like $1,000 here, $2,000 here. So I can get all that to you.
No,
but
I don't
it's
need,
very,
I
very
don't need
minimal
those
because
details.
again, this was a prototype that we've already built once, and we cleaned up a lot of the stuff from the first time. So really, the big change orders were the value engineering. We had over $200,000 worth of value engineering that we took out of the project.
Okay, but the change orders in this project, Mr. Dare, is a plus to the district that we've taken out of it.
Okay.
It's a plus.
Because then that'll go into the next question was, so are we still good with the contingency fund?
Oh yes, we're fine. Oh, we're gonna have, just like the past bond, we still have $700,000 left over from the past bond that we haven't used yet.
Okay.
And this bond right here, we just very minimum into that. So we're gonna have something left over, and then we'll just do some other projects with it because we'll ask to do something else.
And the last question was, I know we're using other law firms, but we have been having our contracts and agreements reviewed.
That's
by
correct.
attorney. Okay, thank you.
That's Mr. Grimes right there. He's the one to review them.
Yeah, well, thank you. I do appreciate your input, Mr. Grimes, on this. And unfortunately, this is still a relatively new process. I do want to address my colleagues. I bring this to the board not because I don't have my ducks lined up, but because we need to be involved in this decision. So I'm not going to do the legwork of all the research without having the will of the board truly be behind it. So don't ever expect me to come up and say, this is A, B, C, and D, let's do it. We need to come up with that decision. So having Mr. Grimes talk about what needs to be done or not be done is going to be helpful in our discussion. Yes, I do listen to my community, and I think that we all should. And the problem is that I wasn't here, and if I was, I may have instituted this process a long time ago. What I'm requesting is not pie in the sky. I mean, I'm going to say school districts across this county and this state utilize internal audits for their construction, and it's a daily process. Having that level of oversight may not be familiar to you, Mr. Flotis or Mr. LaFoyle, who were a part of these other bonds. But going forward, this board is going to exercise more oversight. And so as a result, the internal audit component is going to be that. If we had it earlier, we may have been able to do something about the projects at Judson, at Wagner, and the stadium. We didn't. We failed the community. And that is not a misrepresentation. We failed the community. So our job now, if we adapt the values of the community, is to provide that oversight. I don't care how we do it. It's going to take some work for us to come together as a board to figure out how it gets done. But as long as I'm on this board, I'm going to keep pushing that because that is something we need to do and we owe the community. So I don't know. Mr. Grimes, you didn't seem quite passionate about that we had a lot to audit here for this particular project, so I may have to go back and look at other potentials, but at least I know that you're a resource that I can utilize for that. I probably will reach out to neighboring districts like Northeast and San Antonio ISD who are doing bond projects, Northside, and ask what their internal auditors are doing. So, anyway, thank you.
Okay. Roll call. Oh.
I'll go ahead and withdraw my motion. I don't think I have the support for this measure. So rather than go through that, it may be something I need to bring back. So I'll pull. If you guys want to vote on it, Mr. Flores, that's fine. What do you want to do? I'm willing to withdraw the motion on this one and come back.
You made it. Okay, you withdrew it, sir. Okay, we're finished with Mr. Grimes, right? Thank you very much, sir. They're asking for a short break. Thank you. We're going to take a 10-minute break. We are back into session. It's 9:45. We're going to go to item A. Consider and take possible action regarding approval of request for proposals 1415 for human resources audit services.
So let's talk about what we motion.
Now, I was under the impression they were coming back with potential vendors that could do this this work. So
We've got only two, sir.
Yeah, I mean we've that's.
So we're not going to do it.
Yeah, I'm not satisfied with the
Okay.
with
Well,
the amount of vendors.
Wait.
Then-
First, he has to suspend the rules so we can talk.
Okay. I suspend the rules. Go ahead.
That Who was that? Yeah, I was kind of curious on that.
Because they've done an assessment, and we haven't even given it a year for the department to try to, follow those recommendations in order for us to see where we're at.
Well,
Because all the proposals that came through were a 3, 4, 5-year period. We had an assessment done, we knew what we talked about it. We had a special meeting, myself,
Mhm.
Mr. Sally, and Dr. Mackey went over it. And you're not giving the department time to get everything done. You've got to look at it again. I'd say give it a year, and it's almost a year. And then we have to do another assessment based on that. And then we'll see, okay, if something needs to be done. But the amount of money that we're looking at, and, people submitted their estimates and everything, but it's all over a 5-year period. That's what I'm talking about,
Well, and I think that's because the administration put out that type of timeline. I don't know. Isn't that correct, Mr. Lozano? You put 3.
It was an
5 years.
option. You could do 1 or 5.
Yeah,
1,
so
2, 3,
it
4,
wasn't like
5.
we said, yeah, let's do 5 years. It was just an option that the administration put out there. So I hear you. You can't force people to apply. I do believe in that. But I wanted to kind of circle around the fact of how this worked out, because I know that there's companies that are willing and able to do this, and I don't know who applied. I mean, there were 39 companies apparently that took interest. There are 19 that pulled down the report, and then 2 that applied. So I requested that information. I think Ms. Adair did as well, to kind of get an understanding. I mean, I don't know. But this is what this discussion is going to go around.
understands HR, understands school finance,
It would have been. It,
It's like, take your job, for example. They came in and said, well, this is what you're doing wrong in the marketing department of the IT. And then come back 3 months later and say, hey, you haven't done it all. You know, and you would say the same thing. I would say the same thing like that. Hey, it doesn't happen overnight. There's been, things have been addressed. Things have been ironed out. The department, I think, has made some changes in accordance with the recommendations he's having, and there's some things that they can't. One of my first questions on this thing was, if we did everything they wanted, how much would that cost? You know, and it was a tremendous amount of money from you know. So, I do feel, and I understand where you're coming from, but I think we need to let this go and let it go a year. Let's see where we're at. As we come back in and say, this is why we want you to come look at this, because you looked at us a year ago. Where are we at?
well, and I know that we didn't hit the thing for order, but I'm going to just talk and then allow my other colleagues to say something. The basis behind the entire internal audit for HR was that Gibson did want to proceed. They recommended that after they did the risk assessment that we proceed. We as a board didn't support that. So we took a risk assessment. They gave us a snapshot. They said HR is probably one of your number one risk areas, and then we took no action. That is true. That we voted it down.
We didn't bring the jet, but the superintendent did.
The superintendent broke it, but that wasn't an internal audit. That was a review. So that's fine. I mean, I don't mind. That was good, but that still wasn't an internal audit. What I was seeking. And what I was seeking was an internal audit so that the board can be more engaged in that discussion. We have a high attrition rate. I mean, we have issues with not keeping our employees here. There's a problem that we haven't identified. We have thin administration in HR. I know that Ms. Howard has done a great job in what she has, but we're thin. So the bottom line is the board needs to establish some oversight, some vision. The only way that we can be empowered to do that is through the internal audit mechanism. And I mean, I'll go back to the fact that this is something that the state has empowered us to do. This is, again, not just me wanting to do it. We've been empowered as a school district or school board to do this. And so going back to the reason why this is important is because we need to take some unusual steps. We've never had an HR internal audit before. I provided an audit checklist for my colleagues to look at how specific we can get. We've heard issues with grievance policies. So we have actually an audit checklist for HR to do a random sampling of grievances, see how they went through, if they were completed. Then, of course, you have an audit of exit employees. It does a random sample of why an employee left, and I mean, it does that analysis that's going to eventually come back and give us that input. That's what we're seeking. And to employ that, I think, will help the district tremendously. Again, going back to this is not rocket science. This isn't something I'm bringing up that's so brand new. We've never seen it done. Competitors, and I say competitors because Northeast and Northside take our teachers. They're competitors. They have these internal audit mechanisms that they can employ at any time and typically do to uncover weaknesses in processes. Not to say that we got you, you're wrong, just weaknesses in processes to strengthen their position. We take them from wherever they come in. I mean, smaller districts, I would assume. But I'm just assuming. The thing is, we have to do more than what we've done. And this HR audit, I think, will help Ms. Howard. It will help the board. It will help strengthen our district. And we'll lose less teachers. Because, again, the whole goal, again, was retention. I keep alluding to that. We can't lose teachers because it's about student success. We have high turnovers of teachers in the classroom. It hurts student success. So when we do the HR internal audit, if you look back at the checklist I provided you, there's a million things. We could be doing this all day. We don't have all day. We pick those areas that are of interest, then that internal audit goes. And what I would ask, you said to give the year for HR, I would ask, let's give a year for this internal audit function. Then we reassess and say, this really never worked for us. We did nothing. We're not better. We still have a high attrition rate. Then we can go back to that.
But we had an assessment
And I'm not discounting that. I'm not discounting that. I do appreciate that review, and it identified some things. I don't think that's why. If we were to ask them, that they're not going to tell us because they just did one. They may cite the fact that we're divided on this issue, and that's real obvious. We're divided on this issue, and maybe an internal audit doesn't want to come and work with a divided board. It's unfortunate, but that's just the way this issue has come down for the board. But bottom line, if we can improve retention in this district, we should do everything in our power to do so. Doing an internal audit is a way to get that accomplished, and I truly believe that. So if we were to exercise it for a year, I think then we can come back and review the data. Ms. Howard can tell us, hey, this really helped because I didn't have the opportunity to do that type of in-depth analysis. We all win. And the thing is, if we can win, our kids win. So that's all that we're trying to do. Now, getting back to the fact that we didn't have the pool of potential applicants, I'm under the impression, and I'm going to talk to Mr. Ashmore, I think he was a part of this, Ms. Elizondo, Dr. Mackey, to find out what happened and what could we do if we put it back out there for 30 more days. I would say if we put it out 30 more days and we still get 2 people, the same 2, then you know, maybe we need to figure some other options. But that would be my first recommendation before we even decide on anything. We don't have enough of an applicant pool to interview, and that would be our next step. We would interview them, ask them what they would do, and move on. We have 2. We probably need more. So I would ask that we just continue. We put it out 30 days. And let me just say, this process does not require an RFQ. We could literally just say, we want to bring you in and come work, because it's almost akin to legal services. We're going above and beyond to be as transparent about the process, so we can't say that, hey, your friend's doing this. We want the best people doing this job, so we're doing the RFQ so that happens. So I believe that once we kind of get an idea of how this request went out, where it went out, and we put it back out with some modifications, we'll get more interest in this process. But I don't know. That's why it's on the agenda, because the administration had to bring it back to us. They went through the process of doing the RFQ, so now we're back here. So on that vein, I don't know if we should take action other than just to have them put it back out there again. I will say this, too. I think that we probably should schedule a field trip to look at the internal audit departments at Northeast and at San Antonio ISD, because they probably could give us perspective on what they're doing and how effective it is.
Why don't you go to a more reasonable size? Just go to Long Beach.
If they have internal audits, but I'm looking at cost. I mean, Northeast is right up the street. And we're trying to get to excellence, and we need to aspire to that. And Northeast is bigger, and so they may have some more resources than we do. But it's an example. And so I just think that, if anything, that we have a field trip, we go out there and we talk to them over at Northeast and San Antonio ISD. I think that would be very helpful. I mean, there is a possibility that if this comes back in 30 more days and we don't have any viable candidates and we don't have an increased pool, that we just form a department. We do and take the model that SAISD and Northeast are already doing. Maybe that's why they don't contract it out, because it can't be contracted. Well, I was hoping we could handle it, but obviously I don't mind talking to anybody. So, I mean, I'll talk to the coalition and Bobby Blunt over at Northside. But bottom line is, this is a team effort, and administration's been part of this team process. And I understand their sensitivities. Mr. Elizondo has shared that we want to give or empower the board, and so it's new. Anytime we're doing something new, there's going to be some bumps in the road, and that's what I think we're encountering here. My frustration is that we passed this in November, and we're still looking at it in March. My hope was that this internal audit would have helped with retention for this year so that we could help keep our teachers in place. I'm hoping that we don't have a 19.5 attrition rate. I don't know. But my goal is to keep teachers at this district. And if we're not doing something like this, then I don't think we'll be able to change it as effectively or as quickly. I know administration is doing all they can. I truly do, and I appreciate that. But we as a board have the authority and the ability, and I think it's incumbent upon us to do more. And this is that step.
Ms. Adair?
Thank you, Mr. Salinas. Just a couple of things. I did review the packet that Mr. Elizondo gave us at the budget meeting. However, I would not be truthful if I told you that I had a chance to review all of the data that Mr. Ashmore provided to help me understand what proposal went out and who responded. I appreciated what both companies said. I'm concerned that neither of them are Texas companies, that they're not familiar with Texas law, and they're not familiar with specifics that have to do with Chapter 21 and education. They're not education personnel companies. I did speak with TASB on the initial review, and one of the things that I intended to do, Mr. Flores, was to speak with Jim Crow again, because my understanding from him was that the review was different than the audit, and that if the board had requested an audit, they would have conducted it differently. So I fully expected them to apply. I'd like to personally ask him about that, and I didn't have time due to circumstances beyond my control. So I would not want to vote on anything tonight, and I apologize to the board for not having completed all of the homework that I feel is necessary for me to make a good decision. However, I'm not willing to say that I would wait another year. I think there are areas that need to be audited, and I think for the board to have taken from November to now, and we haven't done anything, I don't think that's good. But I appreciate all the efforts on the part of Mr. Ashmore and Mr. Elizondo to get this audit and to send these proposals. It was just, quite a few documents that I just didn't have time to read and question. I certainly wouldn't take time and ask those questions tonight in this board meeting. So, with that said, that's where I stand.
Mr. Sellier.
Yes. We'll say it again. And I'll tell you why we haven't done anything since November. We don't have a policy, we don't have a procedure, we don't know how this board is going to do this. And until we have a policy procedure on how the board is going to hire and fire and who's going to direct what's audited, I'm not voting for it. That's the problem. That's why it's taken so long, because no one, this board as a whole, if we want to do this, is not taking the initiative to put in writing how we're going to do it. Second, here's the summary of the TASB recommendations, okay, when they came down. They did a site visit in fall of 2013. Has anybody looked at these? Has anybody read them? We all got them. Okay, we all got them. So there's what was one, and here's the progress. Okay? Number 3. And June and I are agreeing a lot lately. We're scaring me, but we're in love here. Okay? I looked, here's the proposals, okay? And I got a lot of stickies here, okay? A lot of stickies. And the highlight, the big one is, and I understand, 1, 3, 5 years, but again, this is just like the first one we had. We spent, $20,000 on Gibbons? They gave us an overview, and here's what we need to do. We spent $20,000, got absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Okay, both these proposals tell us exactly what they would look at. They tell us in here, in a proposal, what they're going to look at, okay? And for that, when you look at on page 16 and 17 of this one, okay, it tells you that they want, 2, 3, 4 years ongoing follow-up to make sure that they've done what they've done. But and on both these, and look at them, you all got them, but again, TASB's done it, and you're right, it was not an audit. It was a look at, okay? But TASB's already looked at it. They've already come back and said, this is what you've done and what you need to do. What more do we need to do? Why do we need to spend more money on this when we already have the outcome?
Can I answer that?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I answer that, Mr. LaFleur, because you're next? Oh, man. I'm in shock. The only problem I had with TASB is they only looked at paper They didn't even do a sampling like they were talking earlier. They looked at what the HR department gave them on paper, and they told us they only reviewed processes. The audit people, the people that wrote the proposals, they said they would talk to employees, they would talk to so that's the piece that I'm looking for that's missing. If TASB would come back and say, we've already looked at your paper, all we have to do is supplement it with the people contact, that's good for me. But the people contact has not been established. They talked to people that were specifically given to them by HR. They didn't select random employees. Remember I told you about, I worked for the Inspector General. We didn't let the commander give us soldiers to talk to. We randomly picked soldiers and said, how are you getting paid? How's your leave policy going? And that's the piece that's missing for me. And when I asked TASB, and they specifically told me, I'd bring Jim Crow to the meeting, and the lady that did it, they only looked at the paper from HR. There was no personal contact. That's all that's missing for me.
Okay.
So,
and I can agree with that too. So why do we need, Gilbert's over here kicking me, why do we need to spend a whole bunch of money on just this one little piece? Why can't we, do this internally and figure out what it is? Because you're going to get the same, to do something like that. So Dr. Mackey, everyone, I guess, what I'm hearing is June is happy, I'm happy, Gilbert's happy. I can't speak for everybody else of what the TASB did. And Richard's happy. And I think, and I agree with June. I said, for completeness, we could do a survey of employees about what they think is good and bad of the human resources, bring that to the board, give that to Ms. Howard, and she's already executing a lot of things. I don't think we need to go out and spend all this money to redo. We know, things are getting fixed. You look at human resources 3 years ago and look at human resources today. Totally different department. Now, what we need to do as a board is look at these recommendations. And the very first one on here was what? Reinstate director position, midpoint benefits, all these things here, and then look at the follow-up, what they've done. The human resources department is moving forward, just like this whole district is moving forward. Yeah, that's fine. If that's your issue, and I agree, is an audit, but why do we have to go out and spend $50,000 on doing something where we can do online or a survey?
There's a motion to table. We have a motion and a second. Motion by Ms. Adair, second by Ms. Williams. All those in favor of the tabling signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed likewise. Aye. Okay. Motion carries. Item C. Consider and take possible action regarding approval adjusting elementary boundary lines for Copperfield and Converse Elementary Schools. Ms. Williams. Motion by Mr. LaFoyle. Second by Ms. Adair. Ms. Williams.
Excuse me, I have a motion to amend that, though. So.
Okay, you want to amend the motion?
Yes.
Can you read it, please?
Yes, sir. I move to adjust elementary boundary lines to include sections 249 and 268 within the Copperfield boundary lines effective immediately. I need a motion.
Did you get that?
Yeah. You made a motion? I did.
Yes.
Oh, I said it. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you.
So we have an amendment.
Yeah.
Now you need discussion.
Okay, now, discussion. Yes, ma'am.
Sure. I did hand out information to the board, but basically, long story short, my concern is looking at the elementary. You actually have in front of you the 10-year forecast, and you have a few other things. And if you look specifically at the sheet I gave you that has the current enrollment starting at the very top, but as it is right now, we're set to open Converse Elementary with the numbers that we have with current enrollment around 750, and that's after we take out the Copperfield students, and that's after we take out students that have been displaced to Converse Elementary, because right now we have campuses that are so full or grade levels are capped that they're there. So once we take those out, we're looking at a number 750 range. And Copperfield, with their projections on how many we already know students that are enrolled right now, plus the projections of the pre-kindergarten and kindergarten classes, is set to open around 565 from my estimates from using the data we have. My concern is that they're so far apart. And when I asked about why they're so far apart, I was told a lot of it's because of growth in the Copperfield area. But if you look at your 10-year forecast and look at our, starting next year, they are set to open with 554 according to them, which is really close. It's very close to what I'm looking at with the numbers of students we actually have looking at the enrollment. My numbers are just a tiny bit higher, but same here. And if you look out for the entire 10 years from now, given these boundary lines, Copperfield would go to about 600. So that's about 50 students growth in 10 years. And if you go ahead and look up at Converse Elementary, where we're only pulling in the 60 to 70 range of students, Converse is continuing to grow, and we have a practical capacity around 770. And so within 2 years, we're going to go back over that, or we're going to be at that and over. This year, we have 4 classrooms out in portables there. There's approximately 80, somewhere between 80 and 90 students out in the portables. So taking, this low number, it's very concerning that we're leaving one school very close to practical capacity. So what I propose, the numbers I gave were geographically on a map what makes the most sense to pull approximately 90 more students from Converse Elementary and send them to Copperfield. So if you have that sheet in front of you, the numbers would be a whole lot more even, and both Copperfield and Converse would open in the fall well under practical capacity, and both have room to grow. So that's kind of the explanation there. And as you look at the you look at the plan, and I am going to mention another school on here, even though these are the 2 that are in the agenda item, because we have overflow from other schools. But one school in particular that we have overflow from is Masters, and there's not many, but there's some capped grade levels. Look at this 10-year forecast, and just within a few years, it's predicted to be over 1,000 students there. We know that means we need another elementary, but as we all know, it takes time. We're in the process at Copperfield, but we don't even have land secured for sure yet. We don't have a bond process yet for this next elementary, and within just the next couple of years, this data is saying that we're going to be over 1,000 there. That's going to send, we're going to have to put those kids somewhere. So I'm just proposing, by moving these 90 kids, we leave both schools well under practical capacity. As we've promised the community, this bond for the Copperfield Elementary was to alleviate that stress and to take some of those numbers down, not to have all these young children out in the portables where we have a lot of safety concerns out there. There's rattlesnakes, there's no bathroom, there are a lot of issues. The numbers that I suggested are, in my motion, it's 249 and 268. I have a big map if you'd like to see, Ms. Adair. Do you want me to show you folks the big map? Let me show you a big map. Yeah.
Is it possible? No, Mr. Salyer.
Yeah. Okay. Dr. Mackey, Mr. Kirshner, okay? I have a question. Look at these numbers, okay? And on face value, and that's exactly right. When you look at the 10-year project where this comes, what are the pros and cons of doing what she said, specifically the cons?
2014, 2015, you see 728 kids at Converse, and you see 554 at Masters. You're looking at Masters having not Masters, Copperfield having a new principal, a new staff, and you putting all that together. You have to be very careful not to overload that school starting out, just like we did at Rolling Meadows. We start out loud. You don't start a new school when you're trying to put all of it together, and you don't overload a new school. Converse is a veteran school with a veteran staff. Yes, you can have more students at that school. You don't start a new school out like that. It's just like we start a new high school. We're going to start with small numbers, and we're going to build. You know, you can try to overload one school with more kids, and you're going to create problems on the other end. And that's why we're building on it. It'd be different if the school was open, but now opening up and trying to overload a school like that is going to cause more problems. You know, you're going to have problems on the other end. That's what I see as the pros or cons as a professional. That's what I would see. It looks good on paper, but putting this together, we looked at the big picture. We didn't look at one single school when we put this together. We looked at the overall picture. And the overall picture, yes, there's going to have to be a bond, another bond, and there's going to have to be another elementary school built on Benzingham. You know, that is the next goal that we're going to have to do. And we're looking at that. We're looking at land, and we're planning for that at this time.
Mr. Salyer, finished?
Yes, I'm done. Thank you.
Mr. LaFoyle?
Okay. Yeah, I'm here. I'm just getting my paperwork going. Give me a break. I'm 60. No, how old am I? I'm old anyway. All right. Can I talk to Mr. Kirshner? Mr. Kirshner, these things that she put out, the numbers, are they workable?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what she said. The biggest concern I have is Dr. Mackey's really already said it. If we go, we know that people flock to new schools.
Mm-hmm.
We know that if we take those 90 kids and we move them from Converse to Copperfield, and if you look at the projections that I put forth for next year, we're now going to have more kids at Copperfield than we would have at Converse. If you shift 90 kids, you're going to have more kids, and we'd have more kids at Copperfield than we have at Salinas. My concern is that people go to where the new schools are. That place is going to grow quickly, even though the projections aren't there. The place is going to grow quickly. I really feel about that. As you look at the numbers as they go over time, and I've kind of looked at past history to kind of get into those, we've got some unknowns. We've got pre-K, very unknown. If you look at kinder and look at the projections you've got over and over and over again, you've got pre-K numbers 50, 40, 20, depending on the school, and the next year the kindergarten doubles and triples. Those are unknowns for us. We don't know how many pre-K, how many kinder are going to pop up in those particular areas. The area she's talking about is a major apartment complex, and there's about 6 kids that live in housing over there. So I'm just worried that we're going to put all those kids there, make that move. I mean, the numbers are there. The numbers are workable. And then next year we're going, this was too much. Or 2 years down the road, this was too much. And now we have to move that neighborhood back. That's what I'm really worried about, because I know from past bonds, sitting in the audience, listening to the board members about kids moving elementary schools, being in 3 different elementary schools because we messed up on boundary changes. I just don't want to get into that again with y'all. So again, I agree with what she's saying. I think it makes sense, but I'm just very afraid of that, putting more kids at Copperfield than you have at either Salinas or at Converse that very first year. There's no reason we can't wait for another year and say, hey, this is great, everything's working great, the numbers are good, let's move those 2 neighborhoods next year. That's not going to hurt anybody, and nobody's going to get upset.
So you say it's workable to leave Converse at 753 and Copperfield at 564. That's the best workable solution.
I'm just saying for now, just to see what's going to happen over the course of the next year. Because if we do move them and we do have more kids at Copperfield than we have at either of those other schools, Converse is kind of set. There's not a lot of homes going around Converse. They're going south. They're going to hit that Masters area. Copperfield has a lot of homes going up right now. There's even a lot more land around that area that's going to be continue to expand. I'm just afraid of that, and that's my sole concern. If we open up with more numbers there, I'm sorry, I do have one more. I want to bring up this point. You may know, and you've heard that we've okayed the contractor in this job to do this what we call a 2-phase project. Build us the main school and the first 2 wings of the building to get us started, And if you can't get all that done, they actually have that last wing of the building, they have until November something to finish. Yeah, November 4th to finish. Joris feels real confident they're going to do the whole school at once. But if something happens, the weather gets worse, it's good weather for us because it's rain, but the weather comes in, or the subs, all of a sudden one of the sub craters out and they've got to go get another sub. If something happens right down towards the end, and we say, okay, just get these two wings finished, and now you have the capability of maybe do the finish outs on the other wing. If we don't have all those rooms, there's not enough room to put 600 and.
Is there a penalty if you don't?
Kids. No, it's up to the contract. The contractor, by contract, has been given the capability of building that last wing in November, or get it done in November. That's how we set it, because this was a very tight schedule. It's 10 months, so we gave them that opportunity to say, hey, get all this done for us. We can work with this, and then you have November to finish that one. They want to finish it all at one time. It's only to their advantage. Mr. Joris has told Dr. Mackey, we want to get this done at once, but if something happens that's unforeseen between now and then, I do have that concern too.
Okay. Thank you.
Stay there.
Thank you, Ms. Salinas. I have a few questions. How many students will Copperfield hold?
It's the same as Rolling Meadows. It's got a maximum capacity, meaning there's 22 kids in every classroom. Every seat's full, is over 840-something, I think. But practical capacity is in that same range that Converse is, 750 to 780 range. And we know Converse right now has 860-something kids with those portables in place. Thank goodness we had those portables there. But so it's about the same. Converse, Copperfield, Rolling Meadows, and Masters all have about the same practical capacity.
I had several concerns, and one of them was my own fault. I attended the parent meetings, and I assumed that what was presented at the parent meetings was what we were voting on, and I did not carefully review and note that some of the boundaries had changed from what the parents were discussing and thinking we were going to do. I would support moving 90 students if it's not significant for 90 students to remain at Converse. Then it's not significant for 90 students to change, especially if the capacity is over 800. It'll take a couple of years for those homes to be built as well. But the immediate problem is those students that are there now in that crowded condition. I was at Judson when we had over 5,000, and let me tell you, if they'd have took 100 students away, that would have been nice. So I will support the motion to move those two locations. But I do want to say, Dr. Mackey, I have the utmost faith in your new principal. If I didn't think she was capable of handling 800, I would not have voted for you to have that job. I don't think you need a handicap of lesser students to get started. I think your experience, what you accomplished at your previous school, along with your assistant that Ms. Robinson has praised to the hilt over the last year, I think y'all can handle it. And I don't think 90 kids, if I thought 90 kids would endanger your school, your scores, your tests, then I wouldn't support it. But I don't believe that you have any type of disadvantage or problem in doing that. And so for that reason, and looking at the numbers, I have been to Converse. I have heard from some of the Converse parents. I will support moving 90 students.
Mr. Stallion. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Williams.
That really depends on the principal. We all know that if you've got rooms, you grow into them. I can tell you schools where principals have 6 or 7 classrooms that they're just doing stuff in just because they're there. At practical capacity, she shouldn't have to, but if she chooses to use them, she can. I mean, that's all there. You're taking 4.5 teachers away at this point. There's 4 teachers in those portables. Shouldn't need to use them. But again, that's principal's choice. If she chooses to put them in there, they'll be in there. Like I said, she's losing 4 teachers, 4.5 teachers with this change. There's 4 portable classrooms. Those 4 teachers could all come out if she wants to. Personally, I'd want to use them, but that's up to the principal. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can I? Okay.
I mean,
well, it's my turn. Okay, go ahead. If you, I mean,
here's my. I want kids out of portable, but I know they're an evil necessity. You all know how I feel on portable.
I think what Mr. Kirsch is trying to say, and maybe we need to get from the principal her usage plan, is sometimes the classrooms are gone out of the portables. But I have 2 dyslexic teachers who are sharing a room, and now that I have a portable, I'm going to let the smaller little group have it, or I can set it up as a nicer art room, and teachers can go there and use it at art time. See what I'm saying? Well, that's what he's saying. It depends on if she chooses to use them. Will they be necessary for classroom space? Not, he's saying not necessarily with 4 teachers leaving in 4 classrooms.
There's a reason why. Can I? No, and that's
Ms. Williams.
right. Well, the problem, guys, is this is the difference between maximum capacity and practical capacity. We're taking 80-some kids when we take out the displaced children and the ones going to Copperfield. There's 80-some kids in the portables. So you know, there's a tendency to say, oh, we're taking 80-some kids. There's 80-some kids in the portables. Poof, it's all better. That's not how it works, and we know that's not how it works because that's why we have students all over the district from different areas, because when you cap out at a certain grade level, there are, at Converse right now, there are 8 first-grade classrooms there, but then there's 5 classrooms of different grade levels. You can't control what year people happen to have children and how old they are and what grade level they're in. That's why it's not simple math, and we are cutting this way, way too close. And it is an idea. You could put tag or someone out there, tag dyslexia, but I tell you, you have to walk these campuses too, and you will lose so much instructional time because if you're a tag teacher or a dyslexia teacher, you have to individually pull kids from every single classroom. And that takes time right now when you're physically in a building and you're walking up and down halls. This is all the way outside. This is locked. We keep our campuses locked. It takes time. You are going to lose so much instructional time, but the bottom line here is part of why we got this bond passed is we had enough faith from the community that we were going to do this to alleviate this problem and to alleviate this. And I agree, it's possible Converse will not have students in the portables next year, but it's also a very distinct possibility they will. And that's a problem when we have been putting out to the community that this new beautiful elementary school is to alleviate that stress. That's why I'm proposing making it more equitable so that both schools have plenty of room to grow. Both are not only well under their maximum capacity, but they're both well under their practical capacity. And again, just to reiterate, this 10-year forecast, when you look at the numbers where it says current, Converse Elementary, 781. Converse Elementary, as of today, is at 848. It's 60 more kids than this projection was made for. You have to take that into account. Projections are a wonderful thing, but they're not everything. And that's why we just need some more wiggle room. And that's what I'm encouraging the board to do, is just allow wiggle room so we don't have to answer to parents next year for why kids are in portables. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Ratio dictates that. If we take more
That's what I'm
students, we
asking
take more
about. I mean,
teachers.
what is the cost?
Right.
Right now, our large schools have the same one counselor.
Right.
As Ed Fran, who's 100.
The only thing that will move the teachers is that we will need more extra staff.
You know, the whole thing about this, Mr. Salyer, with all due respect, when we're doing stuff like this and we had a pretty good figure, we have to sit down. If there's going to be changes, we just need to sit down and review and look at this, because I just can't tell you these things on the top of my head. without sitting down and doing it. I can tell you from professional experience, you have a brand new staff and you putting all different teachers, you pulling them from everywhere, and you don't want to ever overload that. With a new principal, with a brand new principal, assistant principal, and all new staff, you don't want to overload them. You have a veteran staff at one school that you want to have understaffed with less kids than you have at a new school. That's something that you don't just do that every day. But the thing that I would have to do is, because I didn't get a chance to review all of this stuff, I would have to sit down and go over there and look at it myself before I would say anything. That's what I would have to do. I couldn't do this on top of my head right now, and it wouldn't be fair to say and do this without seeing it for myself. And I couldn't tell you about the rooms either without looking at them. You have to look at so many programs and things. You have to review this.
Mr. Flores. Thank you. I think we have to rely on the experience of Dr. Mackey, who's been in this education, opening of new schools and everything for over 20 years. And it's like, I can tell you, they can put up 50 homes in 2 months over there in Copperfield. And you'd have another 100 kids if they each had 2 kids. That's how fast they can put them in there. I think, we've given Dr. Mackey a task of looking at how he needs to open this school, and like Mr. Kirshner said, we can address this in a year, see what happens. But I truly believe that as our educational expert and the person that, we're asking him to make these schools successful, I have to rely on his experience. Thank you.
How about, instead of 90, 45?
The whole apartment complex. 84 kids in the apartment complex. You can't split it in half.
I mean, it's the way, this makes sense because of the apartments. The only other way that you could propose it to still move students but perhaps not move as many is something we did discuss in the community meetings, and it's to give the older section of this neighborhood back, which is 34, and take that. I mean, I just, yeah, it's a 34 swing, and that's a neighborhood. Old Astoria. If you're talking about, if you want to lower that figure of 90, if you're concerned that it's too big, taking Old Astoria has currently 34 students, and that would swing it back in the other direction.
What she's saying, it's I think they call it Randolph Valley now.
Oh,
that area.
sorry.
Yeah, it's right there, right across from the high school. Right
Judson
off
High
Market
School,
Lane.
correct.
There's 30-something kids that we captured there to go to the new elementary school. Again, numbers are numbers. Those parents already had their letters. You're moving to a new school. They've already gone to the school. They voted on the mascot. I mean, I'm just going to say, if we wait another year here, we're not going to do any damage. We can make another decision in a year and say, yeah, you know what, Mr. Kirshner was wrong. Didn't know what he was talking about. Let's take those other 2 groups and let's put them over at Copperfield. I'm just very afraid that we're going to get overloaded with numbers and we'll be back in a couple of years making changes again. That's my only fear. I agree with what she's saying. I get that, but I don't want to make that decision. I don't want to tell people that we've already told you're going to move that you're not going to move now, and tell another group you're going to move. Y'all are going to have a bunch of people up here at the podium with that. So
You say there. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I just want to say, though, Mr. Kirshner, though, some of the letters that went out were incorrect already because I've had to call. Okay, one group of letters that went out were incorrect. Okay. Okay. Whatever amount it is, I had to go back and listen to those parents and say, you were at that meeting and that's not what y'all said, and then when we got this notice, y'all changed. So we as board members, we have to endure when we change, and even when the board doesn't know the changes are made because we weren't paying proper attention, and I'm speaking about myself. So I'm not concerned about you're having to go and tell 90 people that they're moving. Actually, in the sense of balance, this is an apartment complex. How many other apartment complexes do you have going to this new campus? So you need some kids in an apartment complex to help the kids that aren't in one to understand how it feels and bring an overall balance to that community.
That's it?
So that's the only other obvious
Okay, we're ready to vote on the motion, right? On the amendment?
I think this is the most. Yes, sir. I move to adjust the elementary boundary lines to include sections 249 and 268 within the Copperfield boundary lines effective immediately. And on your map, if you're actually looking on your board book, it's circled in, or it's semicircled in red. It's like a triangular area. So if we did this plus 90 minus 30, so it makes it 60. But either way, we need the parents to have an answer. You know, I'm not playing that for more time because I've been asking about it for a while.
You ready to vote? We're going to do
We ready to vote?
roll call vote?
Roll call. Mr.
Oh, you want to do it verbally or you want to
Do the vote.
Oh,
Oh, boy. You got to vote, sir.
all ready?
Yes.
We have one abstention, one no, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yeses. So the amendment passes. Now we got to vote on the motion, right? Okay? Go ahead and raise it. One abstention, one no, 5 yeses. Motion carries. Okay, there we go. We are moving on to item D has been changed to April. Pull for April, item D. Item E. Oh, we're gonna, item E is consider and take possible action to establish professional pay grade 10. Ms. Aid, motion by Ms. Adair, second by Mr. LaFoyle. We're going to go into executive session for that. Oh, the next three. Oh, yeah. Possible action regarding approval contracts for teachers. Oh, no. Oh, yeah, nurses. And then G, consider and take possible action regarding approval of personnel report updates, including new hire resignations. Okay? Yes, sir. Let me read that. Closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 551.074 discussing personnel. B, pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.076 considering the deployment a specific occasion for implementing security personnel of devices. Okay, that we shall go into executive session at 10:40. 10:40. Executive session. We are back to our regular board meeting at 11:34. Oh, I did? Oh, yes, sir. Thank you. Okay. We started, we went back there for item, on discussion item E. Consider and take possible action to establish a professional pay grade. And that was Miss A there, so there's no action, right, ma'am? Right, that's what I mean. I'm saying, do we have to do a motion? Oh. Motion died for like a second. Okay, F, consider and take possible action regarding approval of contracts for teachers, nurses, librarians, counselors, LSSP, speech pathologists for 2014 school year. Motion by Mr. Flores, second by Ms. Adair. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Lavoy. All those in favor of the motion signifying by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed likewise. Motion carries. Consider and take possible action regarding approval of the personnel report and updates including new hires, resignation, and administrative appointments. Motion by Mr. Lafoyo. Second by Mr. Sellier. All those in favor of the motion signifying by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed likewise. Ms. Adair, what was that teacher retirement? Was that supposed to be a discussion, just teacher retirement? Oh, okay, ma'am. You want it next time?
No, the board has the information.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. Okay, item D, discussion on district-wide oh, never mind. We did that behind closed doors. E, discuss implementing a financial analysis through an internal audit per Texas of Judson ISD Finance. Thank you, sir. E, F, update on local policy, CH, local purchasing and acquisition, first reading. Miss Adair. Oh, we need a motion. Motion. Oh, I'm sorry, first reading. Right. Okay. Any discussion? No. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's not up. I'm sorry. I apologize. Okay, G, update on statement of impact amendments. What is that? Oh, the charter schools? Okay, no. Well, Mr. Sellier and I have discussed that every time it comes up. Okay. Update on advisory committees. Mr. Flores.
Long Range and Curriculum Committee are meeting on Wednesday. Last month we had a meeting and Tony and I were there. And we made all our decisions. There was nobody there, so this time we're going to be going over the House Bill 5.
I'm sorry, I got home last night. I can't really do anymore.
Anyway, again, we'll be meeting on that, talking about House Bill 5. Anybody want to come?
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sellier. Next month in April, right? Okay. Anybody else? Oh, Mr. Lafoyle, I'm sorry.
I went to Corpus.
No, we haven't gotten there. We haven't gotten there yet. We're advisory. No. You're.
I don't think I wanted to get it out of the way.
Okay. He's excited because he went to Corpus. Okay, sir. No other advisory? Okay. Let's go to I, update on board training, conferences, events, and consider future agenda item, which we have some already. Yes, sir. Okay. I attended, Ms. Williams and I went to the presentation of this, and Dr. Mackey, for the 3 students that received scholarships for the armed forces, right, sir? There was 3 of them. And I believe that was it. Okay, anybody else? Events?
I attended the state basketball tournament, had the privilege of presenting our basketball team their medals. Dr. Mackey and Mr. Hernandez did a great job. They played hard. They just came up against the pressure.
When are we going to recognize them? Maybe next month, sir? Oh, in May? Okay.
As far as an agenda item, I'd like for us to consider designating about $3 million for future land purposes. That's it.
Do we have it? Oh, okay, sir.
Put it on the agenda to designate some money for future land.
This meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Oh, wait, whoa.